Folks, welcome to So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Saturday episode, which means you are in the effing weekend. How is it? It's Friday right now, so I don't know how it is for you on Saturday, but I'm imagining that everything is perfect. In Los Angeles, it is 1:49 p.m. I'm starting this early because I just got to power through today. I didn't get much sleep last night nor this week, so I'm just going to power through this instead of doing it late at night. And we'll see what that's like if I get this done early and I can actually have a night where I go to bed early. Exciting. And I stay up late, not for you guys. I stay up late for these women, these housewives, these Avengers with breasts, these gladiators with beep, like we do this for them. We have to talk about their every move. But I hope you guys are doing great. Now, remember, I did 2 episodes yesterday. I did a pop culture roundup with a bunch of Bravo stories and pop culture. It was like an hour, like hour 5. And then I did a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recap, which I really enjoyed doing. So check out both of those. I know it's a lot of content, but if you're here, why not just try all the episodes, or just play it in the background as you doze off and go to sleep, or just I don't know, just leave it running and go to the bathroom or whatever you need to do. But I appreciate the downloads. I appreciate you guys. Thank you to my Patreon members. Thank you, baddies. Remember, Tuesday 5 p.m. we're doing our Halloween baddie spooktacular. Feel free to dress up. Even though I won't be able to see what you're wearing, but I'll be dressing up. So come join for a live Patreon chat. You can sign up at patreon.com/so bad it's good. And finally, if you do like this show, or even sort of like this show, leave it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I don't even say that just for me. Do it for all podcasters. Any podcast you listen to, just go and just give them a gift of a 5-star review. It's really the quickest, freest, simplest way you can do to support this thing that we do called podcasting. So today, Orange County. What did we think of this week's episode? Man, they go to London, but the tragedy goes with them. It is not left in Orange County. Shannon Beador on the ropes from last week's episode, but at the very end revealed that she finally learned how to search in her text messages. Imagine how powerful Shannon is now that she knows how to search her own text messages. If Shannon discovers how to use emojis, I mean, this game's over. Tamra's going to be run over. Imagine all the things that Shannon doesn't know how to do with her phones. That's like the big thing that I was like, wow, Shannon just learned how to search her texts. What else doesn't Shannon? Shannon's like, wait, the phone can take pictures? Are you kidding me? What? You mean I can download all my Poison and Def Leppard albums to the phone? Don't even try to explain what the cloud is to Shannon Beador. It would blow her effing mind. I told you yesterday on one of the episodes, Doug Butin, my buddy, he's like the MC for the Shannon and Vicki live show. And they did a show in Ontario last night. And I was thinking that there was going to be a lot of dirt, but Doug texted me and said, you know what? There wasn't a lot of dirt. There wasn't a lot. And I found this to be at the Irvine show that I went to. It was a little bit of the same way. I thought people were going to be like peppering with John Janssen questions from the audience. And it really wasn't like that, even though you could ask anything. And he said it was kind of a similar vibe last night. Emily Simpson was there, but he said it was more of a sisterhood vibe, which I thought, oh, that's really nice. It's like this sisterhood of the Orange County traveling pants. But at the same time, I'm like, that's no fun. Come on. We didn't even get a reaction about the alleged Jim Bellino dating Elizabeth Vargas, which he has now gone on record to say that is not true. It might not be true, but it's like that photo wasn't Photoshopped, so they're buddies at least. And somebody released that to TMZ with those quotes. My guess is, and I don't want to call this person out, but I think their name, and just see if you can figure this out. It's kind of a deep clue. Their name rhymes with Schmidthemith Schmargeth. That's who I think potentially gave those quotes to TMZ, in my humble opinion. So let's see here. Before we get into this episode, I told you this yesterday, I had to go to a doctor's appointment. I've been having some little heart issues, and I had to do an EKG today. And there's some like small things. I have to get a surgery in a couple of weeks for my sinuses. They're going to clean me out finally, which I'm like, what if that just changes my life entirely? I always think about that. I've told you guys that thought before of, what if, you know what? I just kind of accept that I have to feel bad all the time. But what if you don't have to feel bad all the time? What if you actually go to a doctor and they actually improve your life? Like that to me is such a weird foreign concept. I'm just kind of like, oh, just take it. Oh, your knee hurts, just deal with it. Like I don't usually do a lot of things about any given thing in my life. So I don't know. Anyways, I went to this heart doctor, but then the heart, I did the EKG and I was waiting for the doctor, and they made me wait in the room for like 45 minutes. And I didn't have my blouse on. I was topless, which I'm very demure. And, I was just like, oh my God, there's like a draft. It's very windy in Los Angeles today. There's like gusting winds. But I was just sitting there for 45 minutes and I just kept thinking about Orange County. And I just thought, the overall overwhelming thought with a lot of these shows, Salt Lake included, I mean, any of them, is that it's a show based on friendships, right? And more importantly, female friendships. And from what I've noticed I'm a stupid dude, but from what I've seen, or female friendships with other females are kind of, ladies have it all over on men. Like, men, we have so much trouble communicating and sharing our emotions with each other. And that's why when guys get together, they talk about the stupidest things possible because we can't really tell each other that we love each other. Like, come on, hug me. Carl Radke will tell Lindsay Hubbard, can I get a hug? But other men don't tell other men, can we get a hug? And so sometimes you'll look at female friendships as a man and be like, damn, I want what they have. Like they're so loving, so supportive, so like girl power. And obviously that's because of the patriarchy and, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of men saying, this is mine. So of course, the reaction to that is to be so supportive and women supporting women. Thank you, Ramona Singer. But then when it comes to Housewives, that's the concept of the show, but it never truly is that. I think the show, minus a few exceptions, you walk away with thinking there's no way that these women actually consider each other friends. There's just no possible way that these women are like something's bad happening. I should call Tamra. Like it just that there is no like I watch each episode and I'm like, oh, that's like a friendship ender. Each episode to me is a friendship ender, and yet they are forced to stay with each other because of the show. It's how I always talk about Vanderpump Rules. Like this cast of ghouls are all chained together for the history of time because they worked at a bar in 2013. And now they have to be in each other's life for the remainder of time. And with Housewives, it's the same way. How many scenes have you said this week, this season, where Shannon has dealt with something and you'd be like, if I was Shannon, it's done. I'd never talk to that person again. But you have to talk to that person again. You're encouraged to have these horribly uncomfortable conversations and to be so shitty with each other. And the other thing that I never can understand for all the years that I've done this is they know all of this is being recorded. They know that all their social media is public. They know that text messages, I mean, now that Shannon knows how to use the search feature, we know those are fair game. Like Tamra has talked shit in the show, off the show, online, on her podcast, in text message. I'm sure she's talked shit over, I don't know, like wire transfer. I mean, like she's talked shit in every possible way. So things are going to come out. But I find it very interesting is that Tamra usually is always the loudest, and that served her so well as a housewife. And so that's why at the very end of this episode, when Jenn Pedranti had her scene, which you guys, if you watch it, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, we'll get into it later. But I was so damn proud in that moment because it really, I think in that moment, if Tamra was being honest with herself, she was on her heels. She was on the ropes, and she's not used to being like that. Her normal quickness was not there because I think she was so thrown off. And I love it because Jenn is always pegged as weak. And I'm not saying Jenn is without fault. I'm not saying that at all. But we've all seen ourselves in Jenn. You know what it is? I realized this yesterday. I complimented, I said it, I was on Jeff Lewis and I was talking about a guy that works on there. And I said, oh, it's so funny. His social media is so confident, but in real life, you'll talk to him and he comes off, a little insecure. And they're like, oh, well, that's rude. And I'm like, no, I was using insecure as a compliment. And I totally meant that because to me, I'm wildly insecure and I definitely have my faults, but I don't think I'm overall bad or evil, right? So like so I and I was like, how messed up is that? That I think power is insecurity. Like if you're insecure, to me, I think like, well, that's good. You don't want to be a cocky son of a bitch. You don't want to be in it. So when I look at, I think that's why I kind of root for the people like Shannon or people like Jenn, because they're just normal people to me, or people that I can see myself in, even as a dude, where I'm like, I see that. I see because I find life very challenging. I find life very scary. I get sad a lot. And I can relate to somebody like Jenn. I can't relate to somebody like Tamra. I might respect her in certain aspects of her being a housewife and the business that she's built. But I can't respect that because that's just not me. I don't run towards conflict. I don't try to get into fights with people. I don't completely talk shit about other people unless you're on a reality television show. But Jenn, in that moment, it was like the end of Rocky. You're like, no way, she did it. She's in her face. She's using her voice. Wow, she's like on her voice. She's like, just bam. I wish back in the day that Rachel Leviss could have like had that same fiery voice. And I don't think Rachel necessarily ever found that because of, obviously actions she made, but it was so great. And Shannon at 60 years old still hasn't been able to have that moment that Jenn had this week. And it really, I was like, oh my God, are we seeing a potential, not maybe future of Real Housewives of Orange County, but we all of a sudden got a contender. We're in good hands. Like this is good casting. For anybody that Jenn wasn't good casting. And yes, I do know the relationship with Ryan. There is obviously a lot of question marks, which we will have to face at some point. But just because this dude potentially has question marks about him doesn't mean that their relationship isn't real. It might not be good, but it doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean that she doesn't feel loved. And she's also in an interesting position because, as she says, Ryan, welcomed her family in, provides for her, which is one of those things, which obviously triggers Emily because Emily is in a lot of ways a self-made woman and knows how hard she worked to get to where she's at. But that's why I like Jenn, is there's a complicated character there of, wow, she's finding her voice and standing up for herself with Tamra, because you got to stand up to the bully at some point, and a lot of people go through their life without standing up to the bully. But it doesn't mean she's perfect, and that's what I think makes a good housewife, is being able to stand up for what's right in certain situations, but it doesn't mean that your life is fully above board. It doesn't mean you don't have problems, because I think that's with all of us, right? Even the things that we get right, there are so many things that we still get wrong. And the best you can do is that hope that your friends and family root for you. That there's people that believe in you, that won't just talk shit about you, or text about you at the drop of a hat, or for an easy laugh from Heather Dubrow, right? So those are just some beginning thoughts. Beginning thoughts of Real Housewives of Orange County. I also wanted to update a story. Tamra Judge obviously was in hot water. I mean, Tamra is having the not so great, horribly bad year from hell. Now, the upside of that year from hell is she's getting really decently compensated. Her podcast is huge. Like, no matter what you want to say about Tamra, I always say success can shut a lot of people up. And that podcast is really, it does really well. So you got to give her flowers on that. Even if you don't like the podcast, there obviously is a large swath of people that do. She's got Orange County, she's got the CBD, she's got to so whether you believe it or not, Tamara's okay financially, but it's all of these other things. It's her going so hard in the paint on the show. And what I thought when she got herself in hot water, the whole thing was she saw a therapist for the first time, right? And she said all of these things that were worrying her about herself. And I thought, well, that's great. I mean, that's such a good place to start in therapy, because you have this list of things that you're worried about with yourself that are very real. Where Tamra went completely wrong is announcing that, yeah, it says I'm on the spectrum. That's where a completely like needle scratch. And I've heard from so many of you guys in the last couple of days talking about this with your own personal stories. And I will say, when it comes to illness, and not that autism is an illness, but I'm thinking more about cancer because I was just talking about cancer yesterday. But when it comes to family members or friends or people that struggle with these issues or live with these issues, it becomes so personal that there is a visceral anger that you can feel. And Tamra obviously felt it immediately. And I think maybe her brain, or a lot of housewives' brains, are so trained to just like, act like they're on a talking head with a producer and just blurt it all out. And I think maybe there was a lot of missteps. Obviously, the first one, and not really understanding what her therapist was trying to tell her. Obviously, talking about her therapist, her therapy session when it's in its infancy at all is really dangerous. And then expecting a reaction of all warm and fuzzies, because I think maybe, and I another more speculation, and I don't. My thought would be, if I was in that position, I would be so sad because I would realize, oh wow, maybe because I've gone so hard on people, people haven't really any room to go soft on me, to like take it easy on me. Like I've almost trained people to react with that visceral response, which I think, if she's thinking that way, is not the way to be thinking, because it's not just that it's Tamra, it's that it's this issue of being on the spectrum, that is so sensitive for so many people. So it's not even that it's Tamra. It doesn't help that it's Tamra, but it's the issue. Anyways, she, went to her Instagram, did a, article with People magazine, and then she clarified her comments, or talked about it more on the Twats podcast. And she said, I feel really horrible. I feel beat down. I think people have to understand. I spoke about it literally 15 minutes from a 2-hour therapy session. And I realize now that I spoke too soon. I shouldn't have shared what my therapist said. Okay. Okay. The I feel beat down. When I read that, and just because we talk about Orange County, I just imagine that's what I imagine Shannon Beador feeling like after this season, just beat down. And I wonder if Tamra connects those dots. And I know she's smart, so she must connect those dots in some ways. And probably, since she still acts the way she does, maybe that's why she's going to therapy in the first place, right? But the I feel beat down, of course, you're going to get beat down over something like this. And I wish she had added, I feel beat down and I completely understand why I'm being beaten down. Because you don't want to make yourself a victim when you've caused the problem for a lot of people. She continues, I just feel horrible. She says, I didn't intend to share it with anybody at that moment. I hadn't even told my family. Um, and she wasn't trying to insult or minimize or get sympathy or any of that. I apologize. And the part that I think people are confused at is people with autism don't have empathy. That's not what I was saying. I was questioning my own empathy with my therapist, because I have heard people say to me, you don't have empathy. Um, and she says, there was a lot of information that I had processing in my head. I'm not going to say anything anymore. My doctor suggested that I just take a break from social media. Um, and she just said, I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. And she was going to promise to learn from this. So that's all in the eye of the beholder. I have not checked her social media today, if she has followed her therapist's advice and stayed off social media. But social media is just one of those addictions. And especially when you've got a business like she does, and you're, a certain level of celebrity, you want to keep going. You want to keep getting that reaction. It's almost like money coming into the bank for you. So it's like one of those other addictions that we build up. And I imagine that she's not going to do that. And we'll see about the rest of it. And I hope her therapist gives her a good old talking to, not a spanking, because you therapists can't do that. But I will say, this is how I had my therapist. Now I'm going to talk about my therapist after I just said not to do it. But I talked to my therapist on, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? And I shit you not, I talked about Tamra in my therapy session. And I wasn't like, let me get your take on OC this season. I just said, because I was so frustrated and I was so tired. And this story, I think, had just broken. And I was like, explaining to her, I was like, this person on this reality show, she went off on her, I guess she had a therapy session, or she thinks her therapist said she was on the spectrum, even though, and I was like, you can't diagnose people in a first session. And the therapist literally was like laughing, like not hard, but just like, like the smirk and going, no, that's a very complicated process that you go through to be done, like going, but I was kind of just talking. I was like, it's the cyclical nature of this bullshit. I mean, it's not bullshit in the way we feel about it, but it's just that rinse repeat cycle of a housewife or somebody in pop culture saying something so left of center, so off base, so off putting, and then that goes out there. We all realize how stupid it is, but then we add to it by throwing all of our anger and emotions on it. So we're getting that all out there. And then stupid people like me, I'm like, I'm being asked to comment on this stupid shit. And like, I have my own issues. I'm talking to you right now. And now here I am talking to talking about Tamra in my therapy session. Like, I'm going to build Tamra for this. But it was great. I was just cracking. I was like, how silly is this that I'm literally talking to you about Tamra Judge in my therapy session? And my therapist was like, this anger is good. It's healthy. Yeah. Because I'm usually pretty even keeled, but I was like, I'm so tired of this shit sometimes. It's like we all know this person, like we see how this person has operated in all of these seasons of Housewives. Of course, she's going to operate like this in off camera as well. And, of course, we're going to take this as storyline and, oh, this is a plot line, or this is going to be her storyline next season. And I just thought it was because we're never going to be able to say the right thing at the right time, or a good majority of us are not. And especially Tamra, who pops off and we immediately get angered because we've had so many instances. It's like Jax Taylor when he says, I'm a work in progress. We've heard it so many times that we are so desensitized to it that you just write it off completely. But I wanted to share that with you. So my therapist says hi. No, she doesn't. Do not actually ever tell her that I talked about her, please. I just noticed I'm wearing like all white, like a white sweater, a white hat, and it's making me look extra pale. I look like that kid Powder. I'm like, oh my God. I need to change my sweater. This is like disturbing me watching it. Sorry, YouTubers, if you're watching this. Look rough. Okay, so this episode 15, which is weird because I think we got this mid-season trailer around episode 7, so I thought we would end at 14, but we are past that. And at the end of this week's episode, we didn't get on the season finale of Real Housewives of Orange County. So that means we're probably 2 or 3 episodes away from the season finale. And I'm loving this season, but at the same time, I'm ready. Parts of me are ready to move on. Parts of me are ready to move on, especially since, Tamra is getting into mess. I mean, all of these people are getting into mess in the off season. So there's plenty of OC that will still be around even after this iteration of OC is off the air. This episode is entitled Double Decker Drama. And that obviously is those double-decker buses they're riding. In the description that the cable company gives us, Shannon's 60th birthday extravaganza continues. Shannon's misery extravaganza continues. And then it continues, Tamra and Shannon continue their friendship war. Holy shit, their friendship war. If there's a friendship war, why are we even putting the name friendship in that wording? It should just be their war. Like, there's not a friendship war. They're not friends anymore. You can't be friends and talk this kind of mad shit. And I will say, I'm not a big fan of revealing other people's text messages. But there is something oddly satisfying when Shannon has found the search feature and just starts like going back and like looking at like she's literally putting in like search bar Jim Bellino and seeing what comes up. I mean, that iPhone is a treasure trove of just shit talking. I bet Tamra and other cast members have talked shit on everybody. Now, the unfortunate thing is that's going to blow back on Shannon. We all realize that, right? Because she reveals that, Tamra said she did a background check on Ryan Boyajian, but we don't get to see what Shannon wrote in reply. Like, when you're texting mad shit about other people with your friends, you're usually like, yeah, I'm with you. That's a bad seed right there. And you're like pumping up your friend because you're trying to be a friend. So it's most likely Shannon talks shit too. And my worry for Jen Pedranti and Shannon that the gloves are off now. I mean, Tamra is like, "Oh, okay, I might be on my heels a little bit, but you want to reveal information? Oh, I got some information." You know she's going to start digging through whatever Shannon has sent her about these ladies. So it's going to get way messier. And then also remember, Alexis Bellino, Fun Lexi, wasn't even in this episode or the previous week's episode. So she's probably back in some form next week. And we still have from that midseason trailer, and I know it's going to be the finale. Because I even told when I was talking to Katie, Janella, and Jen Pedranti, I said my prediction is that at the end of this season, the season finale will have the John Janssen reveal in person. Because I was like, that's classic. You know, you had the Tom Sandoval trying to talk to Ariana in that. You know, you had Carl Radke and Lindsay Hubbard break up in the last episode. You want the most dramatic thing for the season finale. So I imagine that will be that where we watch Shannon just like fully combust internally and externally when she sees Johnny J. And have we like I got to go back and look at that footage. Do we see his shoes? Is he wearing the Ferragamo shoes on the season finale? Like he puts on literally everything Shannon's bought him over their 3-year relationship. He looks like Joey from that episode of Friends where he just put every piece of Chandler's clothing on his body. That's what Johnny J is going to walk into that scene like. But yeah, so we don't have Lexus in this episode, but I kind of was like, not that I miss her at all, but I was kind of hoping that the producers would do something shady of like a quick cutaway to back in like Orange County, and you just hear like a bed squeaking, you know, like because she's like boinking Johnny J. Like, oh, Johnny. And then we're back on the double decker bus. I would just like to throw back every now and then. And usually the producers are shady like that, but I guess, you know, OC, if you're listening, hire me, man. I could add value with things like, hey, could we cut away to Johnny J boinking Alexis Fun Lexi Bellino in just a quick cutaway shot? I think we could win Emmys that way. So this episode starts as all episodes do, with the Bravo logo. All the scenes from previous episodes, like Shannon going, "I would like to invite you guys to London," and she rips off her black dress, and we see the Union Jack sparkly flag underneath it. And then all of a sudden, we're in London, and they're on that speedboat. And Heather's like, "I am not enjoying myself. I am going to buy this boat and destroy it." And then Katie talking in a scene, going, "Ryan went on a podcast and like bashed Tamra and Eddie." Telling this to her husband Matt, and you can just tell Matt's like, I would rather be golfing right now. And said Ryan went on to bash Tamara and Eddie. And then that scene later at Katie and Matt's dinner, where Tamara, a couple martinis deep, go, "How's the FBI going for you?" And Eddie's like, honey, stop, please. I almost wished Eddie popped up at the very end of this week's episode too, when Tamara was like, bye, bye, bye. And Eddie was like, stop. We need the Eddie stop meme. Stop. But Jen in that scene is still like, FBI? What is the FBI? And then a scene with Gina from a couple weeks ago where she was like, "Oh, I gotta get a mammogram." And Heather's like, "Do you want me to go with you to the mammogram?" And Gina's like, "Yeah." And then we go to the mammogram place, and the doctor's like, "Don't freak out, Gina. I just want to do a real quick ultrasound." And then the doctor's talking to Heather privately and going, "Your estimated risk is coming out pretty high." And then we have last week's dinner, dinner scene at the in London, and Heather goes, "To be honest, we sat in that room. Not one of you looked at me and said, 'How are you? How are you, Heather?'" And then Heather at that same dinner tells Shannon, "Shannon, you came to my room in Sonoma. You said all these things about John. But then when I heard you on Jeff Lewis, you said, 'Oh, I don't know. I've never thought about that.'" And then we flash to that scene with Jeff where Jeff's like, "How is that? Has that ever occurred to you?" And Shannon very looks tired. Jeff, I haven't really thought about that." in the scene, Heather goes, "You made me feel used." Heather Dubrow taking something that has nothing to do with her, really, truly, and making it about her, which is like weird, but also good job as a housewife. Like that's classic housewifing right there. And Shannon is upset. I mean, Shannon's been upset this whole season. Shannon's been upset for like the last 10 years, but Shannon's like, "Do you understand? I will never know if he heard my accident or not." And then that final scene where Shannon is crying in the side room at the dinner, and Gina is out there to check on her. And Shannon's like, "Do you remember at the Balboa Bay Club? I told Alexis, you started the ball in my lawsuit." She said she didn't. And we flash back to that scene from the first episode where Fun Lexi is like, "Tamra knows I wasn't involved. I don't know why you think I was." And then we see Shannon finding that text message and reading it to Gina, going, "2018, we have engaged an attorney and will be suing you and Tamra. This is called a fucking smoking gun, you liar." And Gina's like Zoiks face, but it's like a fun Zoiks, like, "Oh, are you kidding me? Holy moly. Woo." Her face, like her jaw completely unhinges like Meredith Marks when she says Alibaba. Alibaba. So we open up on our credits, and this week we get taglines again, and Heather is like, "Just because I drink like a flute doesn't mean you can stick it up my butt." Shannon's like, "Even the harshest of times, this storms will always weather it." And I love that Archie is in her title card with her three daughters. Poor Archie. Archie is like, "Do I get overtime for this? Like, I have to show up in these title cards. I'm worried sick year after year. We got her away from Johnny J, but like she does not seem happy." And then Emily's like, "I used to question people for a living, and now I love espresso martinis." And then Gina's is like, "The properties I represent. I know my worth, and I've asked Travis to move out." And then then Katie says, when you live your life on the green, envy is just par for the course." I think Katie's a great first season housewife as well. I think she's an automatic coming back for a second season. And remember, I think we still have yet to go that she is going to go meet her birth mom. We had a scene a couple weeks ago where she was talking about that with her kids, and I think we are going to see that. Or Katie, I asked her that directly when I saw her, and she said you might see that. Also, my predictions to them. I told this to Jen Pedranti and Katie Janela's face. I said, "My predictions for the reunion that had already filmed." And she's like, "Well, we can't tell you." I was like, "But here's my predictions. Tamara's going to apologize to Shannon. Um, Tamara's going to apologize to Shannon. Tamara might apologize to Vicki. Um, Heather, you're going to apologize to Heather. And there's going to be no forgiveness between Alexis and Shannon." And Katie was like, wow, you might be, kind of seeming like I might be correct in a lot of those. So I do think Tamara's going to go into this very apologetic. I also said Tamara's going to be apologetic to Jen Pedranti. But Jen said, "Yeah, you could be right, but you'll see. There's a lot that is different as well once you see it." She said, and I don't know what that meant, but I did hear from another source that Tamara does apologize to Shannon, and maybe Shannon apologizes to Tamara, and that they're okay. Which I don't know what happened to that Love Hotel experience, but Shannon really, and that's why I was so curious about the Shannon and Vicki live show last night because they had yet to film the reunion at that point when I went to the Irvine show. So at this point, I'm curious if the Tamra bashing was kept to a minimum, even though Vicki went so hard on Tamra this week in regards to the on the spectrum diagnosis, like really went out there. So I'm still so curious what was said in regards to Tamra last night. But yeah, I think Katie is an automatic coming back for another season. And then Jen's like, "People bend over backwards to get me, and their form is terrible. Tell Ryan to stop sending me dick pics." And that's our cast. Oh, no, sorry, Tamara. Tamara says, "The only thing stuck up about me is my unofficial diagnosis." No, she says, "Is my middle finger." Hey, flipping the bird. Okay. Also, oh, what was I? I have a thought, and then it just flew out the window. I'll remember it eventually. You know what? I'm gonna pause for a second and try to remember my thought. Oh, I wanted to mention the ratings. We got the overnight ratings for Real Housewives of Orange County. And I want is somebody out there like a whiz with TV ratings that can come on the show and explain what's going on? Because I've just noticed that across the board, all ratings are saying, like day one ratings for Bravo shows seem down across the board. And I'm trying to understand, is it all like, is just the majority of us starting to stream these shows on Peacock or other streaming apps and they're not watching it same day anymore? Because last week we had a 0.548 million viewers watching episode 14. And so that's, 548,000. And I got a 0.13 in the 18 to 49 demo, which is the demo that advertisers in the age range they love to advertise to. That's when they're like, oh, we're going to get them. We want them to buy shit. Now, last night's ratings for Orange County was a 0.557 million viewers, which is a slight increase, right? Yeah. 548 to 557, a slight increase. But then in that key demo, the 1849, they went from a 0.13 to a 0.10. I don't know how these metrics are all. I mean, I would love to have, I know this might be boring to you, but like a 45-minute conversation about how this all works. And I just want to make sure that everything's healthy, that we're all watching these shows, and that we're just watching them at different times. It used to be everybody was watching it the night of, everybody would tweet about it and make their little memes, and we'd be one happy family. And now it feels so spread out. But it's not just Orange County. Orange County is on the high end of ratings. And then you got Salt Lake, which is a little lower than Orange County. And then you got Roni, which is, in the 0.3s. And and then Potomac, I think, is doing actually better than Orange County and Salt Lake, but only by a hair. So I don't know. That's the other thing. It's just, I talked about this on one of the episodes yesterday of just, there's so much out there. There is so much to watch. I mean, you got House of Villains, you got Below Deck, you've got all of the Netflix, you got Love is Blind, releasing episodes every week. You have so much content out there that are we starting to let other shows fall by the wayside, or are we just watching them later? That's kind of my big question. Anyways, we pick back up. And you guys, we have a Ladies of London callback because Ladies of London used to play this song on, and by the way, Ladies of London, you can stream those seasons on Peacock. I swear to God, Peacock does not advertise on the show, even though they should. But Caroline Stanbury, that's where we first knew her, was from Ladies of London. But they had this song of God Save the King, God Save the King, guess what? The king is me. I love those. That kind of reminds me of the ba-ba-doo, ba-ba-dee-ee. We need to bring back fun little jaunty songs like this in our TV shows. Truly, it was so depressing when Summer House stopped playing their theme song. Like, I get it. You want to get to the story immediately, but there was something I love about cheesy songs. And Vanderpump Rules, they'll still do their theme song because, let's face it, it truly is a bop. I mean, it is truly, to me, if you would ask me the top 10 songs of all time, I would literally put Raise Your Glass, the Vanderpump Rules theme song, in there without even, no irony in there. And you know what? Would you mind if we just did this just to go into the recap? I know you're like, oh, just get to it already, Ryan. But it's Friday. Can we just have a little fun? Let me just see if this picks up your mood at all if you're in a down mood. Here we go. Wait, one sec. We got to, sorry. We're going. Wait. This is the beginning. Light up the sky, burn it up like a candle. Oh my God, the robot. Oh, here we go. Art, Here we go. Oh my God, my serotonin levels are increasing. Oh, I can run a marathon right now. Papa, new. Good laugh. Here we go. Break dance. want to do quarter more, you know? Here we go. Let's finish it out. This one. Truly one of the best songs that we have ever been given in this lifetime. Didn't that pump you up just for that brief shining moment? So yeah, I would like more Bravo theme songs. Just anyway, so shout out to Ladies of London. So anyways, the ladies are all getting ready. We see shots of Gina, and Gina and Tamra brushing their teeth. Gina's like, I got to take care of the real estate in my mouth by brushing my old teethies. And Heather is talking to Tamra and she's getting glam. And Heather's like, Tamra, there's a place called Mayfair Chippies for fish and chips. And Tamra's like, I want that. And then we hear Heather goes, that's going to make us poop. What if this was 42 minutes of Heather trying to defecate? Like, oh, I'm almost there. I need another piece of cod. Anyways, Tamara's like, God, disgusting. And then we go back to that music. God save the king. God save the king. God save the king. Emily welcomes the breakfast that is being delivered to her hotel room. And Emily's like, yeah, just put it right over there. We see bacon, hash browns. And then Shannon is there sitting across from Emily. And Shannon is dressed up like Wednesday Addams. She's got like a black and white number on. And you can just tell she's rattled. You can tell this 60th birthday extravaganza is not going how she wanted it to go at all. And Emily points out that there's mayonnaise. And I was like, it's mayonnaise. And Shannon's like, for the bacon? And Emily's like, oh, why don't you try it on your omelet, Shannon? And she's like, I'm not a mayonnaise fan. I'm not a mayonnaise fan. No, I wouldn't do that. Also, what is the mayonnaise for? All you Brits that listen, what in the breakfast plate would mayonnaise even be used for? I mean, that's stomach turning. And then we hear the music one more time. The king is me. Emily notices that Shannon seems down and says, you seem sad. Don't be sad. I don't want you to be sad. Emily has internal feelings that she's expressed in terms of sadness about, body positivity and things of that nature. But it's been very rare that anybody has tried to take Emily down for previous relationships. I mean, Shane really seems above board. I mean, you can knock him on that he loves his thirst busters and things like that, but Shane seems like a really solid dude. So Emily, I don't know, fully understands what it's like to be taken down for relationships and pretty much everything. I mean, Shannon, remember, kind of treated Emily and Gina like shit those first couple of seasons. So Emily's used to people like not kind of welcoming her with open arms. But now I think Emily has securely secured her spot. But I don't know if Emily truly knows what it's like to like get sucker punched day in, day out on a trip. And it's got to just be really taxing and like, oh no, now we have to do another day of filming. It can't be fun. And Shannon explains to Emily, I wish that I could let things roll off me. But last night was so unexpected for me, especially when I said at the beginning of dinner, I want it to be a fun night. And we flash back to that where Shannon goes, I'm in a lawsuit right now. And everyone's like, you just talked about it for an hour. And Shannon's like, the fact that you're bringing this up right now. And Emily's like, wait, let her finish, Shannon. Let her finish, hon. And Tamra goes, you're not the fucking victim, Shannon. And by the way, this is a split screen. So we see Shannon in the other split screen at breakfast, like eating gently her toast. While this, like, you're not a fucking victim, Shannon. But Tamra, like, this is the type of shit I'm talking about. Like, I get this is when you're trained to make what you think is good television, when you're just shouting shit out that is just so repugnant, because this is what I'm talking about. No friends would do this. Or if you do, you would like be on your best behavior from then on. And you wouldn't have a season of this bullshit with a friend. And that's when Shannon got up from the table and went to go to the bathroom and she was behind those bars. And Shannon goes, Tamra Judge, don't you ever call me a victim. And that's when Tamra was like, oh, I'm just laughing because it looks like you're behind bars. So in this scene, Emily goes, yeah. And Shannon's like, so it's hard for me to just say, I felt attacked last night. Let's go on a bus all day. In a talking head, Shannon goes, what am I going to do? Walk in and go, hey, girls, woo, London, day 2. Like, no. She tells Emily, I'm like done with explaining. I don't need to explain myself, especially to Tamra Judge. I love when we call characters by their full name. I don't need to explain this to Tamra Judge. I don't need to explain this to Gina Kirschenheiter. I don't need to explain this to Tamra Judge. Okay, so we get out of that scene and then we pick up at the spa where Katie Janela is checking in. There's a peaceful, quiet room area, and she's there with Tamra. They're both in robes and they're sitting on these like kind of like rock hard. It looks like rock hard recliners. I don't know how this looks comfortable. It just looks like concrete, like fancy concrete. I used to work at a day spa when I first moved to LA. And I think I've told you guys a lot of stories because my unofficial job, I worked I was a men's spa concierge. I called myself a spa boy. And I would pass out cold towels and water to people in like steam room and sauna. But my unofficial job was to make sure that men didn't hook up with other dudes in the spa because we were in the heart of West Hollywood. And that was like rampant, even though it was a really nice spa. And you want people to go have their good times. But, it wasn't like a bathhouse. It was like a really nice spa. But we did have a quiet area like these ladies are in where you would take your clients before they get a massage to like lay there and then their massage or facialist would come pick them up. So Katie and Tamra sit down and Katie's like, oh, they're warm. They're warm, which actually now, even though they're rocks, it seems like that would be nice and warm. And Tamra's like, it's a rock. And they're kind of laughing. And Tamra goes, oh my God, this is so relaxing though. And then Tamra goes, I have one of these. And Katie's like, you do? And Tamra goes, yeah, it's called a sex chair. And Katie's like, do you have to blow it up? It's like, no, I don't have to blow that. I don't have to blow. I got to blow Eddie. And they show a shot of Tamra's blowjob chair or the sex chair. And listen, Bravo, I don't need this. I got 8 kids. We watch this as a family. This is not the kind of garbage that I want to be watching with my 8 kids on a Thursday night. But, since we're here, when I talked to Tamra a couple of weeks ago, I wish I had asked, and Eddie was in the room too, and it was such a missed opportunity because I would just say, and I would say, Eddie, feel free to jump in here as well. Do you ever regret filming the bathtub scene where you lit candles and you got all like Cinemax After Dark in there? And because I always talk about that thought of like the poor cameraman or camera woman in like khaki shorts having to go home to their family that night. And they're like, how was work, Dad? Of like, I had to film 2 adults making love in a bathtub. You don't look well, Dad. I'm not well. I just need the weekend to think about where I want to go. I studied camera work and filmmaking for the last 20 years. And tonight pushed me over the edge. And I'm like, oh my God, please. And I was so scared that they showed a picture of the sex chair because they were introducing it as a character. I'm like, oh no, is the sex chair coming back later in this season? And we're like, oh, that's the sex chair she was talking about in the scene with Katie in London. Anyways, Katie's laughing at Tamra. Tamra's just being her usual filthy self. And Katie's like, I should get Matt one for his birthday. Yeah, not unless it's on hole 16, Tamra goes, Katie, so what time did you end up going to bed? And Katie's like, probably around 12:30 or 1. I ordered pizza. And Tamra's like, oh, you did? And Katie's like, okay, this is the only thing I got confused about last night. Like, why can't Shannon just sit and talk? And the moment Katie says Shannon, you can see Tamra's girl boner just go boing, boing. Oh, talk about Shannon? Don't mind if I do. And Tamra goes, no, so Katie goes, it's like she gets super emotional. Katie proving that she's never watched Real Housewives of Orange County up to this point. Because that's Tamra. That's Shannon. Anyways, Tamra goes, well, Katie, that's why I had to step away from her. I wanted Shannon to take accountability for what she's saying. Okay, let's just walk through this. And I don't want to beat up Tamra. I really, truly don't. But you want Shannon to take accountability for what she's been saying, but you also want her to take accountability for driving into the house, which I believe Shannon has done. And legally, she's taken accountability as well. But now that's not enough. You still are going to rail on her and call her an alcoholic, even though we see you drink in as many or more scenes than Shannon this season. But now it's not even that. It's what she's saying. But then this is like, for every action, there's a reaction that I always talk about of, Tamra, what about all the shit you say episode after episode? When do you take accountability for any of this? That's why it's like it's just hot air at a certain point. Anyways, we flash back to Shannon going, people are saying that I borrowed $75,000 for a facelift and I didn't, which by the way, Shannon's face looks amazing in this flashback. So I'm like, well, you did get the facelift. And Tamra in that scene goes, this is your words, Shannon. Maybe you can take a low interest loan. And she's like, no, no, no. And they're like, that's what he said. That's what he said to you. And Shannon's like, you guys are mixing them up. The low interest loan was the first thing. And Emily goes, Shannon, you just called it a loan right now. Now back in the scene, Katie goes, here's my thing. If I am struggling to pay bills, which he claims she was, and she said, I couldn't pay my Amex bill. And Tamra goes, she's always struggling. And Katie's like, well, then why would I get plastic surgery? And Tamra goes, exactly. But this is not a hot air argument because I understand the question, but also it's the same thing in regard to Jenn Pedranti and this, was it a Versace dress or whatever dress she bought for $2,000? It's that same line of questioning. And I don't know, you guys, like you're 60 years old. You went through you're going through a hard time. You're going through a hard life, a hard couple of decades. And like, you're like, oh, boo-hoo, she's on TV. That doesn't matter. Like I said, we're all wired differently. Just because you're getting the world handed to you in certain ways doesn't mean that you feel that. And it doesn't mean that you don't feel like complete trash half of the time. So sometimes you do something nice for yourself, like give yourself a full-on fucking facelift. And I got to tell you, I would feel pretty good with that facelift. I was like, shit, do I need a face? I'm going to go in and go, give me the Shannon Beador. Give it to me. So Tamra and I talking to her goes, Shannon lives way beyond her means. She throws money around if she's a multimillionaire, and she's not. And then we see a flashback to all the gifts, including the Burberry scarf that she got all of the ladies for this trip. And I understand, Tamra. I do understand. Yes, that's a lot of money because I think the scarf alone was like $500, right? But yeah, like some of us aren't good with money and some of us want love by doing nice things for other people. And you try to buy affection, or you're trying to get everybody to have a good time and to lay off you for the love of God. Just because you don't do that doesn't mean others don't, because we could also make that same argument for Heather Dubrow that shows up to every party with a $400 bottle of Dom Perignon. She has a gift closet, for the love of God. Like, I almost want to invite Heather Dubrow. She probably would never come, but I want to invite just to see what I would get, because it would be like Christmas. Heather Dubrow, same thing. But you don't worry about Heather Dubrow because you know there's a constant source of income. Like, that's the great thing about Heather Dubrow, is she's one of those housewives that I talk about where I'm like, at least I don't need to worry about her retirement. At least I don't need to worry about her being okay financially for the rest of her life, because she's going to be. Unless something really, really horrible happens, which I hope it never does. But there's something so secure for an audience that we can like go, okay, good. Don't have to worry about her. Have to worry about all these other knuckleheads and everybody on the Bachelor franchise, but I don't have to worry about Heather Dubrow. So Tamra says, that to me is scary. All I'm thinking about is my retirement. That's it. Which, by the way, Tamra, I think a lot of people are kind of thinking about your retirement right now. A lot of people, I mean, you got a lot of heat this week. And I'm sorry, I get a lot of hate for saying that I think Tamra isn't a necessary housewife, because if we go with that thesis statement of these shows are designed at this point to get us angry, she does that really, really well. And I'm not saying that's not natural, but I think there is an element of, that's why I always want to see Tamra produce something, because I think Tamra would be a decent producer, because I think there's an element of like drill sergeant to her that I think would actually be good behind the scenes at reality television. Don't come at me, or come at me. I don't care. Anyways, Tamra's like, I just put all my money in the bank. Listen, I already have a sex chair. That's all I need. I need the Eddie and the sex chair, and I'm good. By the way, that's what I'm telling you. I think Tamra truly is like this. She was like my mom. My mom nickel and dimed her whole life until retirement. And I've told you, I grew up, like I never had name brand anything. Like, I'm wearing a Gap sweater right now, and part of me feels guilty. And I got this on sale. I got this for like $40 at the Gap. And I'm like, that's like, who do I think I am? Like Daddy Warbucks or something? But she saved. And Tamra is the same way. So I bet Tamra's got a very, very healthy bank account, truly. Katie says, well, Tamra, I've been there when I was a single mother, and that was not great. And Tamra goes, you weren't 60. When Tamra, I think, is 57, right? And Katie's like, true, I was 29. Katie admits. And then we go back to the hotel and we hear the song, This Is How You Make Me Feel. How you make me feel. And we see Gina walking into this pool area, this inside pool area with Jenn Pedranti. And Gina's like, this is great. It's so warm in here. Yeah, it's warm. And the ladies are getting served their tea. And Gina's like, I want to put my Tootsies in the water. That's another thing. My grandma used to say Tootsies all the time. And I don't know. There's something I like about Tootsies. It's not as nefarious to me as saying you got to put your big girl panties on. You got to pull on up your big girl panties. That for some reason, and maybe that's a male perspective because then we sexualize everything with women. So maybe I'm like, you got to put up your big girl G. I don't know. Anyways, it just, for some reason, it always sticks out to me. But like, you got to put your Tootsies in the water. And Jenn goes, this feels like you, because to me, this kind of has a New York vibe, this pool. Like, and Gina's like, yeah, I'm very comfortable here. Yeah. I feel like I'm in Manhattan. And Jenn's like, it feels like home. Yeah, but also, I don't know if I needed to travel this far. Well, I mean, it was a free trip, so it wasn't like, and that's the other thing too, is Shannon invited these ladies for the trip. But remember, for most cast vacations, Bravo does foot the bill, and they do that by featuring the hotel. We know the name, The Londoner, because they keep flashing the sign, The Londoner. So you get free hotel stay out of that. I'm not saying it doesn't cost production money, because it definitely does. But this is, for all intents and purposes, Shannon didn't pay for this trip. She paid for those gifts. She didn't pay for the trip. Jenn says, Gina, what happened last night? I didn't know you were leaving. And Gina goes, Shannon showed me the text message thread from Shannon learned how to use a fucking iPhone last night, Jenn. You can't believe it. And she showed me these text messages from Alexis from years ago that literally specifically said, get this, Jenn, that everything you and Tamra said is lies. And Jenn immediately has the Zoiks face, like, whoa, we'll be getting an attorney and we will be suing you. And Jenn's like, what? And Gina's like, yeah, which means she did send it, which totally confirms. And Jenn's like, did she send that to Tamra? And Jenn's like, yeah. Gina's like, yes. And nobody's heard about it. So I was like, I can't believe that Tamra sits across the table knowing that Shannon is telling the truth and instead chooses to attack her for lying. I mean, that's the rub, right? That's it right there. Is that Tamra even had this information. Shannon being a good friend, not being a good friend, but trying to like make inroads with Tamra a little bit of like, look what I found. And Tamra kind of just brushes it off. So it's interesting when Tamra does get outraged about something, or she wants to get outraged about Shannon, but when it doesn't fit that narrative that Tamra has in her head. And by the way, you guys, once again, I forgot to say this at the beginning. This is what I forgot to say. If you're a housewife, and especially an OC housewife, please don't listen to this recap. It's happened time and time again. I know one or two of you still are listening, and just don't, because I just want to speak freely and not hurt anybody's feelings. I love most of you, Anyways, Jen and the talking head goes, I've known Tamra a long time, and Tamra lives for receipts. And Tamra knows how to work that iPhone. Jen goes, I am sure Tamra knew this text message existed. This is like what makes her thrive. She probably kept it a secret because she is such a hater for Shannon right now. She would rather befriend Alexis and ignore the lawsuit if it meant it was a takedown on Shannon. And they intersperse this with Tamra laying on that warm wood sex chair in the spa with Katie. And that's what I'm saying. Jenn is such an interesting housewife because she can nail a scene like this with laser-like precision, where she sees the matrix. She sees the matrix of Tamra. She might not be able to see clearly other aspects of her life or being able to pay bills on time, but she sees this. And to me, this is worth more than paying your. This is worth more than any rent that you could possibly pay. And Gina goes, it just feels like, Jenn, very much. They're like Heather and Tamra. They're so hypercritical of every movement that she makes. Jenn says, oh, sorry, back to Tamra. Tamra says, Shannon's superpower is making people feel sorry for her. And Katie's like, well, I do. And Tamra's like, yeah, that's what she does. And playing the victim. She's going to come back to Heather. She's going to think about last night, and she's going to come back with a different answer because she twists things. I told Heather, be prepared. Okay. We've talked about this time and time again, but like I said, we're all wired differently. She wants people to feel bad for her. I don't know, maybe, but also just remember she wants people to feel bad for her because she feels bad for her. She feels horrible. I told Tamra this to her face or through Skype is that, like, listen, you are way stronger than Shannon. You have to like allow the idea that we're all built differently and how you see it as a sign of weakness and needing other people's strength isn't necessarily a bad or a wrong thing. It might not be your cup of tea, but you've been friends with her all these years, so you've seen it from the beginning. So just say you're tired of it. You're tired of it. You like to hang around with what you consider to be winners. You like to lean on people like Heather, who Heather is going to be fine regardless of what happens on this show. And I don't know. I just feel like Shannon is such an easy victim for Tamra. Like it's an easy person to get one over on. Does that make sense? Anyways, we hear a knock on the door and we cut back up to Emily in Shannon's room and it's Heather. And Heather's like, hey, you look cute, Emily. I see this outfit fits. No, she didn't say that, but that's, anyways. And Shannon is just like, looks down, dour, already kind of pouty. And Heather's like, good morning. And Shannon's like, good morning. Shannon's quiet. Shannon, good morning. Good morning. Heather goes, I don't like how things were left last night. She's talking to Shannon like a 5-year-old. I don't like how things were left last night. I know you're upset, but I need you to put your big girl panties on and we're going to have a good day. No, she goes, I just wanted to come up and talk. Let's fucking talk. And Shannon goes, Heather, I'm blown away by what you said last night. You know, you and I had a discussion at the beginning of the year about rebuilding trust, and Heather just like fully like sitting down in her face, going, like not breaking eye contact because Heather is another one. Heather is not intimidated by Shannon. Heather thinks she's better than Shannon. Heather, there's no skin in the game for this. Like it's just like I gotta go apologize to Tamra. We got to shoot today. Shannon goes, Heather, and when we were in Sonoma, I made it very, very clear to you that the conversations needed to stay between you and I. And we flash back to that of Shannon crying to Heather at that Sonoma trip when she found out that John Janssen was going to go forward with the lawsuit. And Shannon's like, I don't want other people. And Heather's like, we don't have to bring this up in the group. And Shannon's like, I appreciate that. Heather in a talking head goes, Tamra had already told me this story about John Janssen months ago, so I knew she had told people, but she always does that with me. This is the exact same thing that happened last year. Okay, wait, real quick. First off, another example of Tamra not being the best friend. So off camera, off season, Shannon told this to Tamra, right? As just normal friends. Tamra then goes and tells Heather at some point in time. So Heather already knew this information. But then when Shannon comes to Heather, like, but also, did Shannon say, you're the only person I'm telling this to? Like, are we only limited to telling one person something horrific? And I don't think Shannon hangs out with Heather Dubrow in the off season. So this was the opportunity after an especially hard day to tell you, especially because she didn't think she was going to make dinner that night because of how rough that day was, right? And so for Heather to kind of work this whole other story in her head of this is what she always does, which, yeah, she does have a pattern. I give that to you. Yes. Anyways, we flash back to last year's reunion and Andy goes, everyone here has had private conversations with you, Shannon, about your relationship. Because that was the rap on Shannon was that she would get tipsy at night and just call all of these ladies and just cry and potentially complain about Johnny J and other things for hours. I've even heard that off the show. I heard that was a very real thing. But also, I mean, it might be annoying to some of these people, but like, yeah, we all do weird shit like that. And that's not, to me, that weird if you're going through something. Anyways, we have another scene where all the ladies were in wigs last year and Gina, Emily, and Heather are talking. And Gina tells Heather, Shannon vaulted you. You violated us. I don't know. They're all kind of tipsy. And Gina's like, the problem is we're worried about her. Andy says it all got put back on Heather. Then Heather in her talking head goes, Shannon went on a radio show and talked all about all this. So obviously you can't be upset about that. You put it out there. First off, she didn't put it out there. Jeff asked her the question because Jeff was the one that initially came to Shannon with that off the radio show in a private phone conversation. That was also not the first time that Jeff Lewis talked about that on his show. He talked about that in an episode, I think, with Doug Buden and somebody else going, you know what? I've just been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this thing with Shannon, and I know where it happened. I know where John Janssen lives because I've been there many times. So he already said this. So when Shannon was there, he brought it up on air, and you could tell she was kind of annoyed that he did. Anyway, Shannon goes, Heather, that was a big deal for me to open up to you and tell you that story. And Heather goes, I understood that. I was trying to be a friend and hug you, even though I talked shit about you in Talking Heads. And you were so upset. But when I heard you on Jeff Lewis and you were so flippant about it, it was so opposite. And Shannon's like, well, again, when John Janssen's making statements, which is going to destroy me, I have a right to defend myself. And Heather goes, did you ever think that maybe like you pay him, but then it dies away? And Shannon goes, yep, you know what? I'm going to get it. And they're like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm getting a gun. No, she goes, I'm getting my papers. And then Heather goes to Emily, she's like my mom. Always with the papers. So Heather already this is the kind of thing. Shannon is such a character that they all kind of laugh about her behind her back. Even she leaves the room and they're like, here she goes again with the papers. Doesn't even know how to fucking work the iPhone. Oh shit. And I get it. And we've all been there, but man, this is somebody truly going through something. Anyways, Shannon comes out with like a handful of like torn up notebook paper. And she's like, this is the shit that I spend my time doing. And Emily's like, wait, this doesn't look organized. And Heather's like, no. And Shannon's like, well, this is how I've done it so far. And Emma's like, is this your receipts? And she's like, yeah. And we see these torn up paper. One says clothes in scribbling, and at the top it says 5,070. It says 8/13/19 Varvatos, like $300, 10/13/19 Varvatos, $1,485, 11/12/19 Varvatos, $2,385, 11/13/19 Varvatos, $973. And then I think it says cash 1,900 under there. There's like all of these. This is like that scene in Dumb and Dumber where, Jim Carrey, after they spent all the money, of like, these are IOUs. We don't have the money, but these are IOUs. This one's for a car. You're going to want to keep this one. This is a big one. Like, this is that kind of vibe, is that Shannon's out there digging up receipts. And by the way, it would be so easy if she knew how to work her iPhone, but she doesn't. So I just imagine her just like crawling through bags of receipts to scribble on her little notepad. Shannon goes, from the first 6 months of and Emily and Heather just start cracking up in front of her. They're just like, oh, geez. Fucking help her. Can someone, that would be a great scene if somebody went to Shannon's house and went through the receipts with her, like right there. Like, instead of just laughing at her, go help her with this shit. Put it into a fucking Excel document for her. And Shannon's like, for the first 6 months, and the girls are like snorting at this point. They're like, heads are on the table. They're like, and Shannon keeps going, of our relationship, this is the total. And it doesn't even include everything. Airfare for 4 trips, $13,411. Every family dinner that we went to, $618 here, $60,891.40. And these ladies just can't keep it together. And Shannon's like, I'm glad you find humor in it. Heather has fully hidden her face behind a black napkin. And Emily's like, do you know what Excel is, Shannon? She's like, I just learned how to work text message the other day. But Shannon's kind of smiling. She's like, I don't have it on my computer. I know it. Of course I know. And then Heather goes, I'm having a hot flash. I need to get leeches on my body immediately. And Shannon goes, I know how to add things in Excel. I do. In a talking head, Emily goes, Shannon, get your shit together. Heather, in a talking head, goes, I thought she was coming back like an accountant with a file and a microfiche. Emily says, this woman's walking around with a notebook that looks like it came out of my kid's backpack. Heather goes, this is why, even when I'm annoyed with her, I can't really be mad at her because that's Shannon. That's it. Like, she's like Kramer. Like, that's Kramer. Oh, Kramer. Like, they're all like, imagine being the Kramer of your group. Am I the Kramer of my group? Do I even have a group? But you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine being the Kramer of your group. And Heather's just like smiling, like, oh, what a fucking lovable idiot. Heather tells her in the scene, you can't go into court with that. I'd love to. By the way, Ryan Murphy, if you're listening, I would love Shannon, Beador, Johnny Janssen 10 episode Netflix series of this, of like one episode is just Shannon coming in there with these receipts. But also, let's talk about the receipts. So $75,000 for the facelift and the alleged loan, right? That Johnny gave Shannon. So Shannon has added all these stuff up. But the thing is, and remember, John Janssen sent the promissory note after the fact. After the fact. Which, by the way, can we see the promissory note? We will at some point if this goes to court, which I think it is. But like, Shannon, you did all these things. And once again, yeah, you paid for all of these things, but you obviously never asked him for the money. So in that sense, I don't know. I know that she's saying this should be chalked up as even. And in a lot of ways, it should. And I'm also curious then, John's going to argue on his side of like, I fucking bought you pantyhose at Harrods. Something all bottled up and angry. Anyways, these girls are still laughing at Shannon. And then we cut back to Jenn and Gina with the Tootsies in the pool. And Jen's like, did you hear Heather last night say she felt used? And Gina's like, yeah, you felt used? What does this even have to do with you? Like, I don't know what's going on with Heather, honestly, because the whole honestly, like that mammogram thing last night was bullshit. And Jen's like, see, I'm so confused. She sent me a text saying she had a family history, but she did not feel comfortable talking about it. And we flash back to this text message screen, Wednesday, March 27th, 4:14 p.m. Heather Dubrow to Jenn, Pedranti, and Shannon saying, this is so important for our health. And what a great thing you are all doing by putting this on TV. I have told some of you, not saying on camera, my family history. I don't want it out there. So Jenn saying like, listen, you said all of this, so we weren't even especially asking you because of this text message. And it also gives you that peek behind the curtain of, Heather's rallying the troops. Like, they all agreed to do the mammogram with Heather for Heather's scene. But hey, I also don't want to talk about this, this, and this. So I thought they're out of an exceeding amount of caution, they didn't ask Heather about it. Because Heather steers Heather's ship. If Heather wants to talk about something, I think they take their cues from Heather. I think they don't fear Heather, but I think they respect her in that way. And you see, this is what I'm talking about, like little elements of producing. This isn't bad, but it just goes to show that these ladies are going into scenes already talking about what they do and don't want to say, right? So Gina's like, yeah, I said don't feel comfortable talking about it. And Jen's like, yeah, so out of respect, I'm not going to bring up your family history and what you don't want to talk about. And Gina's like, that was very upsetting. And she has a lot to say about a lot. I heard through the grapevine, the Orange County real estate grapevine, a lot of chatter about your dress at the tea party, Jenn Pedranti. She continues, Heather was in Neiman Marcus and called up Tamra and said, I just passed Jen's dress. And Jenn wasn't in it. No, she's I just passed Jen's dress. And then we cut to the Sprinter van. And we hear Heather talking to Gina about this dress thing. I don't know. They're all talking about the dress, I think, away from Jenn, because Emily's like, why would you spend $2,000 on a dress? Oh, I have $2,000 on a dress. That's crazy. And Gina's like, yeah, they were like, why is she wearing a $2,000 Dolce & Gabbana dress if she's having financial issues? And Jen's like, this is such bullshit. In a talking head, Jenn says, you start learning who people are the more time you spend with them. And I didn't ever view Heather as a two-faced, manipulative person. But going behind my back and talking about my dress, kind of like, are you a bit more two-faced than I thought? Yeah. But also, you don't know what came before, the chicken or the egg. And I'm talking about Tamra. You don't know if Tamra inspires this type of behavior or if they're just both like this and they call it, kind of volley it back and forth, because there's strength in numbers. And also, Heather and Tamra are OGs. I think they're like, we've been here since the beginning of the time. This is our ship. We're stable people. I think they both view themselves as stable people. We don't need to worry about our financial, operating costs, and we can poke at everybody else. Now, I do want to bring up the fact that Gina is bringing this up with Jenn Pedranti because, listen, I'm glad Gina finally arrived here at this moment of questioning Heather in a deeper way. But at the beginning of the season, it kind of all started with Gina being upset at Jenn Pedranti of like, why are you going to Vegas if you owe me fucking $25,000 for rent? I put my real estate career on the line for you, Jenn Pedranti. So you just see how things have shifted completely. It was Gina was the one that first had this issue with Jenn. And now Gina's like, I can't believe Heather would even question your $2,000 dress. And then we go back to the spa with Tamra and Katie. And Tamra's like, do you realize that that dress Jenn was wearing was $2,000? And Katie's like, yeah. And Tamra's like, it's not a good look. You don't get $6,000 a month and spend $2,000 of it on a dress. And Katie goes, so the morning of the tea party, she called me and I was like, I got this Dolce dress. It's really expensive. Maybe I just return it. Apparently she called Ryan and Ryan was like, you can wear it to your nephew's wedding. You can wear it and then take it off and boink me or your nephew's graduation or something, and you'll get multiple uses out of it. Just keep it. So I think maybe Ryan bought it. And Tamara's like, I'm concerned with her a little bit. Now she's a single mom. And Katie's like, I know. And if things don't work out between her and Ryan, which sounds like there's already a little stress, which Tamra really didn't help that stress at all. And Tamra's like, in that household with the FBI. And Katie's like, oh, wait. We haven't talked about this actually. What is that? And Tamra goes, oh, I shouldn't have said that. No, Tamra's like, I shouldn't have said exactly what I planned on saying this whole scene. Shouldn't have done that, but cat's out of the bag. But his business partner is a guy that is a bookie. Katie has a blank face, and the FBI is in there investigating. And you would see Ryan and Jenn in the past constantly going to the Bahamas or going to Vegas on private jets. It's because the casinos were sending those to fly and gamble. And Katie's like, she's going to the Bahamas. She's going. Katie says, sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out. So, I read, anyways, Katie goes, she's going to the Bahamas after this. And Tamara's like, they were going like every other week. Katie and a talking head goes, the conflict around Ryan concerns me because I have sat in the same place that Jenn is at. And by the way, Tamra is kind of sat there as well. So sometimes this is kind of invasive, but you could make the lightest of arguments that Tamra has been through this. So she maybe truly is worried about where Jenn winds up if the Ryan thing, if the problem gets deeper. Katie goes, you get to a point where you just trust your partner and then you get smacked with all these things. Are people like, are you an idiot? And you're like, yeah, I guess I was. The only thing I've learned, Katie says, is you always have to have a plan B. Tamra says, I just want her to be smart because if something were to happen or him to get in any kind of trouble, where's she going to go? Katie's like, I know. So that is wild. And that's what I talked about earlier about Jenn being really smart in a lot of things. Like Jenn's not a doofus. She really is very aware of the world around her. But when you are in love with somebody, you are going to believe their side of things because you want to believe in their side of things. I don't know. We're going to have to, I guess, let the courts decide what's going on. And like I said, he is participating with the FBI or whatever that terminology is that he's fully cooperating. That's it. And we'll find out. I mean, it is interesting because when they talk about Ryan's job, it's, a lot of mumbo jumbo about, mortgages and all of this different stuff. Anyways, back to the Gina scene. Gina goes, well, how are you with Tamra? And Jen's like, it's crap. And Jen goes, I stood up for Ryan and she did her shit again. Attack. And Gina's like, you're with Ryan. He's stepping up for you. He's helping you navigate through it. He's taking care of you. And then Jen's like, but why won't she say that? Well, Jen's like, she has no ability or capability to be an actual friend. And if you guys don't think she runs her mouth about everyone in this group, and Gina's like, oh, I'm aware. Yeah. And Jen's like, she does. Jen and a talking head goes, I do not have the friendship with Tamra that I thought I did. I'm letting this woman railroad me over and over and give me blanket apologies, and I keep accepting them? Like, at what point am I the idiot? Feel the dark side, Jen. Feel the dark side. Listen, Tamra usually works her magic on the other cast members for years and years and years. It only took Jen one season to catch on to Tamra's patterns in this game called Housewives. Like, that's a really good learning curve. I mean, that's pretty quick. You got to admit, we've seen, I mean, Shannon still gets roped in, even in this season. But Jen goes, it doesn't make sense to me. And she's like, it's not good. I'll tell you that much. And then we go to commercial break. Okay, we pick back up. They're all in the hotel lobby, and Shannon has provided more costuming, like these red capes and tiaras. And Shannon's like, yes, Duchess in waiting. I have outfits for the ladies in waiting. Shannon trying to like get herself pumped up, and costumes will always do that for Shannon. Shannon says, even though I'm hurt by what happened last night, it's my birthday, and I'm hoping that we can have some fun today. The Duchess of Corona del Mar is going to wear a purple robe, and the ladies in waiting have red. And Tamra's like, are you kidding me with these outfits? Are you kidding me? And Tamra goes, yeah, I'm not wearing the tiara. I have a very large head and have extensions. Yeah. Anyways, Shannon has a bigger tiara, which the size of a tiara always, I don't know what that tells you. Anyways, they're going to go on the double-decker bus. So they get out in the city, and everybody's just blown away by this double-decker bus. It's almost like when the Salt Lake ladies went to Milwaukee, and everybody was like, oh my God, Milwaukee, this is amazing. But they're like that with this actual double-decker bus, which kind of is amazing because they're in London. So Emily's like waving from the top of the double-decker bus, and they're like seeing all of the sights. They're taking selfies. They're all like going, woo, yay. They're raising their hands, waving. Big Ben they see, and they just keep going, woo, woo. Gina is doing her British accent. I'm going to wave at everybody. Hello, hello. I feel like a princess. And then they talk about how to do the royal wave, And then they're going, the queen is over here, actually, pointing at Shannon. With Shannon, you can tell she's like, ladies, keep going, please. So they're just like, woo, we love London. And somebody's like, shut up, please. I'm trying to eat my fish and chips over here. Katie says, I'm kind of bummed that I can't hear what he's saying. I guess there's a tour guide that they're just talking completely over. And they're like, oh, I didn't even know he was talking. This is riveting. And then Gina's like, Gina having a fantastic season of Housewives. She's like, you know what? I'll talk about something interesting. Let's talk about your tits, Heather Dubrow. Last night, I went to bed and this whole mammogram thing. And I'm like, uh-oh. She goes, I just don't get it. And I was like, what don't you get? Obviously, I feel so bad, like for your point of view and how you felt that day. But like before we even went there, you had texted us and you didn't want to talk about it. Well, and Heather's, well, I can't tell my family's history. That's their personal medical information, but I was happy discussing me. Yes, Heather, we know that you like to talk about you. In fact, all housewives like to talk about themselves. We all like to talk about ourselves. So we understand that. Shannon goes, all of us feel horrible about that. We just assumed that everything was fine because if it wasn't, we would have heard, and we heard the cheering. And we flash back to Gina finding out that, we got a lymph node, and we heard like, yay. And Shannon and Jenn in the other room heard yay and go, oh, yay, yay. Good, good. Heather goes, we can keep couching this about what I texted you or how you felt about it. 4 girls were sitting in a room and not one of you turned to me, and nothing changes that one moment. And Gina goes, that one moment was that much to you that you held it and brought? And Heather goes, oh my God, you're the one that brought it up today. I was done last night, Gina. Yeah, because I am affected by this, Well, that's your problem, Gina. Kirschenheiter. Gina goes, why now does it come back in a way where I'm made to feel like I wasn't being a good enough friend? Heather goes, right, but it seems like you're angry with me about it. I'm not angry with you. I'm trying to figure out how to be a friend to you. I feel like your expectations of me are a lot. And Heather goes, oh, I'm sorry. So my expectations of you shouldn't be like, as my friend, don't go to a girl who wants to come after me and say it's cool and fun. And Katie goes, that was me. And we flash back to that scene earlier in the season with Emily, Katie, and Gina. And Katie's going, yeah, there was a little bit of bad press around Heather and Terry. I texted my friend. I said, is this true? Did she hire photographers to come take a photo of her? He said, yes. And Gina goes, oh, She's going to get herself in trouble, Heather. And Emily's like, oh, this is exciting. Heather back in the double-decker bus says, don't you think that would be a good expectation? And Gina's like, well, I just want it to go both ways. So when you're sitting on a couch with Andy Cohen and he makes a comment about my home, I would expect you to defend me. And Heather goes, really? What did I say? Well, you didn't say anything. You were complacent. And then we flash back to the Shady Whale, which is a bit they do on Watch What Happens Live. And the whale's like, which one of your fellow housewives do you think would get the least amount of money if they sold their home? And Andy goes, I mean, I think it's probably Gina. And Heather's like, I haven't been to everyone's home. Heather's like, I wouldn't step foot in that dog shit hellhole of a place. No, in this example, I felt like, I didn't take that as Heather being shady at all. It was like Andy and that animated whale being shady, not Heather. Listen, I would love to tell you if Heather was being shady, but Gina's obviously sensitive about this. Heather's like, what did you want me to say in that moment? And Gina's like, if Emily was sitting there, you would have took up for me, and Emma's like, she's a badass. She's a homeowner. And Heather goes, you should have told me because when I'm upset about something, I tell you. Yes. And I get that, Heather. Heather in a talking head goes, what is Gina's problem with me? Everything I said on Watch What Happens Live was true. In a different kind of interview, would I have expanded more on it? Yeah. But I also texted her afterwards, commented on her post, which she hearted. And we see the comment saying, amen, Gina, you're incredible. Heather goes, in all these months, this has never come up until you need a win. Okay. Sorry. Heather getting shadier and shadier in her talking heads as we near the end of the season. And Gina's like, all I'm saying is I feel like we're all in these kind of circumstances. And I feel like I understand that. And so I do let them go. And Heather goes, this is bullshit. I'm sorry. And Gina's like, I'm not trying to make this bullshit, Heather. And Heather's like, it's exhausting. It's really exhausting. And Gina's like, okay, well, you guys are exhausted. All right, I'll just put my sunglasses back on. In a talking head, Gina goes, I have had to work really hard to get to the point that I'm at. And I'm proud of it. So when other people come in and then they make you feel bad about that, it becomes an insecurity. And Heather goes, when does the shopping start? When can I spend Terry's money and my own money as well? Gina continues, Heather is supposed to be my friend and she's supposed to ride for me harder because of that. Yeah. So Gina and Emily and Shannon get off the bus and Gina's like, I'm not bringing anything up anymore, Emily. It's a waste of fucking time. And Emily's like, I got to take a dookie. And then those girls get off and Heather and Tamra are still on the bus. I think Katie's up there too. And Heather's like, what was I supposed to say? I go, I'm not answering that. That's mean. I can't do that to Andy Cohen. How do I know how much Gina's now worth? Fucking bitch. She literally says fucking bitch. Like this is what's wild about Heather. Like the things that rattle her are so I don't want to say inconsequential, but they're on the Richter scale of housewives are so nothing. But it also just goes to show you we're all sensitive about something, right? And Heather, I mean, to say fucking bitch? Really? Fucking bitch? It's a fucking bitch moment? That took me out. I was like, damn. The British passengers on that bus, they don't need that kind of foul language from Heather Dubrow of all people. We pick back up after commercial and Gina and Emily and Shannon, they're all getting like chips and all this British food. And she's like, this is so fun. And I was like, I feel like we should have started here from the beginning and we just work our way down. Emily sees those fries. She's like, oh my God, those fries. And I was like, I want the funky chips with the stuff you're putting on all those. And we see they're at the store, the funky chips. And she's like, we would love some of these funky chips. Yeah. And she's like, all the things. And then Emily's like, say Orange County to the British dude. And he's like, Orange County. And Gina has like 2 handfuls of like fried food. She's like, this is my favorite day. I'm with you there, Gina. We go over to like Chanel, Cartier, Versace, all of these fancy stores. And Heather is like, this is where the queen gets her chocolate. And there's this place called the Arcade. And they're like, let's go. Heather's like, let's go in and see what the queen likes. they go in and all the girls are like, oh, the smell, chocolate. Chocolate doesn't do anything for me. I'll eat it because I'll pretty much eat anything, but it's not like I crave chocolate, you know? Anyways, Heather asked the employees, what does the queen like? Did you hear I called Gina Kirschenheiter a fucking bitch? Has the queen ever called somebody a fucking bitch? Anyways, the lady's like, she likes the rose and violets. And Heather has the Zoiks face of like, no, the queen likes the rose and violet. And they're like, oh, she also likes the dark chocolate, you know. And there's a dry martini truffle chocolate, which sounds fascinating and gross. They have some pink champagne truffles that all the girls are going to taste test. There's a champagne Grenache center in it, and everybody's like, oh my God, this is amazing. There's a one called a billionaire, which is like a caramel center, and there's biscuit pieces on top. That actually sounds really good. And then Heather goes, has Princess Kate been in? Duchess Kate? I like how Heather says it like, have you heard of Princess Kate? And they're like, no, she hasn't been in since she's been a member of the sort of top tier royals. And then Heather's like, should we bring our Duchess something? Which means Shannon. And Tamra's like, no, I'm saving my money for another sex chair. And now back at the funky chip, Shannon's like, do you know I'm the queen of Corona del Mar? And the guy's just like, what are you getting? Just give me your order. And Shannon's like, I want a bubble waffle. And then Gina goes, I want to go to the shaving shop. I got to get something for Travie Daddy. Yeah, I have a bearded man. And we see pictures of Travis with his fabulous looking beard. I do like his beard. And then Gina goes, he's got a beard and he has very large balls. And then we flash back to them driving on the bus where Gina's letting the ladies know that she's like, Travis has got huge balls. And then Tamra's like, they're actually in my purse. And then Gina goes, that's why everybody just thinks he has a small dick, because his balls are enormous. And all the girls are like, oh my God, oh my God. Anyways, Gina picks up this nice shaving kit for Travis. And Travis is like, thanks. I would have rather just been able to move back into our place, but okay. No, it was a very nice gift. Shannon says, I thought it would be fun if we took an old-time photo at Camden Old-Time Photos. Shannon loves a dressing up moment. And we see like 20 boxes on screen of all the different times Shannon has dressed up throughout the course of the show. My favorite being her dressed up as Bret Michaels at the drag bar. She just looks, not only is she dressed up like Bret Michaels, she looks like sad Bret Michaels, where he's like, nobody wants this rock of love. You know, like it's not just Bret Michaels, it's sad Bret Michaels, which that picture takes me out. If you ever want a smile in your day, just look up Shannon Beador as Bret Michaels and you'll get a deep laugh from your diaphragm. Okay, so they're at this place, this old-timey dress-up place, and they decide to dress up like, Shannon wants to dress up like Tudors, but sexy. And Jen Pedranti is picking out the outfits. Emily's going to get the corset because Emily's hot. And Gina's going to be the maiden. And Jen's like, Gina's up and coming. She's young. And Jen gets a sword for hers. And Jen's like, Shannon's the queen, obviously. And with my big dick energy, I'm the king. And so Jen had picked all their outfits. They're getting all dressed up. And Gina is talking about that whole conversation with Heather and Tamra. And Gina's like, it just felt so. And Emily's like, harsh. And she's like, I think Tamra's very harsh. And we go back to Heather and Katie and Tamra shopping, and Heather's like, they're the worst. And they're just, I mean, so it's just like both sets of ladies are talking shit about the other sets of ladies. And anyways, I mean, I don't know, I like when they split up and then they talk shit about the other group of ladies. And I don't know what this actually, Tamra has like a magnifying glass at this Bejeweled Living Surratt store. And she's like, where were you on January 6th? And I don't know what that, you guys probably know what, I mean, is she making fun of when Teddy asked Vicki where she was on January 6th? I don't know what that meant, but it went over like a lead balloon to me. So we go back to the ladies in the Tudor outfits, and Gina's like, I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm here to have fun. I try to communicate my feelings with Heather. I will not try again. Heather is just like a control freak. It's like she decides when I'm allowed to have feelings, how long I'm allowed to have feelings, and yet she can have feelings about everything and hold on to them for the end of the world if she wants to. Well, I mean, by the way, this is like, to me, this is like the episode of Revelation. Like Jenn Pedranti finally clocks Tamra, Gina finally clocks Heather, and I think this is really interesting. It's like two ladies kind of stepping into their power and finally not giving a shit about the social structure that this show is set up with. And I got to tell you, it's really flipping refreshing. Like Gina doesn't need this. Gina doesn't need Heather. What, for some private jet rides? Like, Heather does decide when and where. We even see it with Terry in that scene where it was the hot mic moment of like, don't you speak it to me like that on camera. What are you doing, Terry? Gina continues, and if I do have feelings, then I'm doing something bad to her. I mean, I have never been so gaslit in my entire life. Okay, so the ladies are all posing, and Shannon's like, "Are we smiling or not smiling?" And they're like, "Look privileged, look privileged." And I have to tell you, these photos are phenomenal. You got Jenn Pedranti holding the sword. I know. I told you guys, and I still do want this. I want Shannon Beador's 60th sexy boudoir photo. I want that on a T-shirt or framed, like some kind of. I want that. I do, but now I kind of want this photo as well on a T-shirt. I love this photo. I truly. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say this. I do also Shannon's notes with all the receipts for John Janssen. I want those for my reality show museum. If you could just show those off under a glass case, it would be like owning the Magna Carta or the Constitution. Anyway, Shannon's talking to the ladies. She was like, I told her, you come at me and you make it about you, Tamra. And she said, oh, that I lied. And Gina's like, it doesn't add up to me. What's happening here is they're having all these conversations between themselves, and then somehow we all end up being crapped on. Yeah, exactly, because they are already talking about what they're going to film. Gina's like, because as Heather's at Neiman Marcus, she picks up the phone just to crap all over you, Jenn Pedranti. And Jen's like, yeah, Heather apparently strolled across my dress from your birthday party, checked the price tag, and because I'm such a broke person, she had to dial up Tamra and ask, how in the hell and why am I spending money? And Shannon whips her head around like, what? Jen's like, so that's just so shitty and low, if you ask me. And Gina's like, yeah, nobody asked you. They just talked behind your back. And Jen's like, shocker. And Shannon's like, don't focus. I can't tell if Shannon's trying to do a British accent or she's just higher pitched. She's like, don't focus on me. Don't focus on you. Don't focus on you. Don't focus on you. Focus on your lives. Shannon screams, even though I think I was just doing Emily's accent. Okay, so we come back from break. Everybody's getting glam. Jenn Pedranti's getting glam, which, by the way, Heather's probably clocking that as well. Heather screams at Tamra, like, Tamra, are you ready? And Tamra's like, almost. Tamra and Heather both have glam as well. We see Shannon all in this like white, beautiful pantsuit. Gina and Emily are getting ready together. Heather and Tamra both cheers with their champagne glasses. And they're like, cheers to a good night. And they go to this place called Sketch, this restaurant Sketch, which looks kind of like Eyes Wide Shutty. It looks kind of like there's like a red circle bar. We see a guy making a fancy drink. And Tamra is like, why do I look taller than you right now, Heather? And Heather goes, because I have a short torso. And Tamra's like, so do I. I have a short everything. Everybody says they're starving. They have onion rings. People are excited about that. Shannon's like, they have onion rings? And she's like, we have to get onion rings. Heather has her readers out to read the menu, but like fancy readers. Everybody gets the espresso martinis. That's the drink of the season. Katie gets a very dirty Grey Goose martini. And then Shannon's like, and then can I have a Belvedere soda, please? And Tamra and Heather kind of clock it, And the waiter's like, excuse me, ladies, did you have a look at our menu? Maybe. Did you? And everybody pretty much orders the filet except for Jenn Pedranti, the Dover sole. They bring out the espresso martinis and they do look like little shot glasses. And Emily's like, hello, have you seen me? Give Heather the tiny martini. I would like a big girl martini and a big girl glass. I agree with Emily on this one. These are way too small. I would be pissed. Gina's like, we should toast to Shannon, her 60th birthday. Despite all the bumps that some of us may have at certain times, it's really nice to be able to sit around a table and celebrate together, you know? And everyone's like, cheers, 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 you know. And Tamra's like, Shannon, what are your girls doing? They're both in Paris right now, right? And Shannon's like, well, they went shopping today. Their dad gave them a little bit of money. And so they're taking the train in the morning and I'm going to do something with them. And then I think they're going to come back to the hotel just so they can say hello. And then they can go right back, you know? And everybody's like, that's fun. Nice. The fillets come out. You know, I don't know, food. It looks great. I'm hungry. And then Jenn goes, Heather, I have a question. And I'm like, oh, you about to get Pedranti'd. You gonna get Pedranti'd. And Jen's like, was my dress at the tea party a problem for you? And Heather goes, no, it was beautiful. And Jenn goes, did you call Tamra and talk about the price of my dress and what I wore? Heather goes, I was at Neiman Marcus and I saw your dress. And Jenn goes, and said what? Oh my God, did she buy a $2,000 dress? And there's a pause, reaction shot to the ladies. And Jenn goes, why? Because you just told us that you were only getting $6,000 a month and I was worried about you. And Gina mouths, that's bullshit. And Gina in a talking head goes, she knows that she just caught in a big way. Now she's like, oh, let me apologize because I got caught in my bad behavior. Oh my God, I love the phrasing of that. I got caught in my bad behavior. It was like when Heather Gay at the end of last season of Salt Lake goes, let me go have a think. I need to go have a think. Leave me alone. I have to go have a think. And Gina goes, but she doesn't care, honestly. They're probably going to leave this dinner and talk shit about her dress again. Exactly, Gina. Gina, you see it clearly. You've broken through the Housewives matrix. Tamra goes, Heather was saying, like, I don't want her to feel like she has to be wearing $2,000 dresses just to be. And Jen goes, no, that was a problem last year. I was buying fake shit. And we flash back to Tamra talking shit last season to Shannon going, as long as it's not like Jen's purse today, the fake Chanel, the Fennel, the Fundy, and the Fucci she wears. It's crazy how, I mean, by the way, the editors only lightly troll Tamra when they have so many instances of shit talking. And Jen's like, you're constantly in a designer, but you're okay. And Tamra's like, but she's got the money. And Jen goes, so what? And Jen goes, this is ridiculous. This is none of anyone's business. And Emily goes, Ryan bought the dress. Ryan bought it for you. And Jen's like, yes, but that's not a big thing. Emily in a talking head goes, Jenn always wants to portray herself as living this very high lifestyle when she doesn't have a job or income and she doesn't know what her boyfriend does. And we flash back to that scene earlier in the season with Shannon and Katie, where Katie asks, what does Ryan do? And Jenn goes, well, nothing now. I mean, he just kind of sits around and like plays in the sunshine. Let's hope that doesn't get used at court. Emily's like, okay, I think that's sad because then that's a woman who's trying to be something that maybe she's not. Now, remember, Emily is very sensitive to this issue. We've had this conversation between Emily and Jenn earlier in the season. So Jenn goes, this is my point. If there's something that's a thing for you, tell me. Heather goes, I should have called you. I apologize for that. But Tamra has always told me if you're going to say something negative, say it to her first. Heather goes, I'm no perfect human, which you know she thinks she kind of is a perfect human. And I would never want you to feel like that, Jenn. So I'm sorry. I really feel bad. I'm very sorry. Heather does that, diffuses it really quickly. That's one of her like little tells. You know what? I'm very sorry. I'm looking you directly in the eye. I am. Jenn goes, I don't know where to go with you, Tamra. And Jenn goes, why? We've been doing good. And Jenn goes, you and I keep getting into this pattern, Tamra, of we're so close. And then you go ballistic on me about, and Tamra goes, I've not gone ballistic on you. And then we have 3 separate boxes of Tamra going ballistic on Jenn Pedranti. And Jenn goes, what happened at Katie's? And Tamra goes, that was between me and Ryan. And Jenn goes, Ryan has nothing to do. And Tamra goes, okay, good. I hope not, because that's scary. Jenn goes, and I feel like within the women, you definitely want them to know I have a piece of shit of a man. He's a playboy. He's a fucker. He does this. He does that. Instead of just saying, you know what? Maybe he's fucking different. I'm happy for her. Do you know that hurts me? This is my partner. And Tamra goes, okay, I apologize. I'm sorry for bringing up the FBI stuff. It's just stuff that was swirling around. And Jenn's like, it matters to me. And Tamra goes, I think I fucked up as it was. I just think I needed to get it out. And Jen goes, get it out. Okay. And Tamra's like, and I did it in the way I get things out, and it wasn't the right way. Gina in a talking head goes, bless Jen's heart. How many times does this girl have to get walloped upside the side of the head before she wears a fucking helmet or something? So Tamra goes, I apologize. Tamra taking Heather's lead. I apologize as well. I apologize. And Jen's like, okay. And then Shannon goes, my turn. I had a question to ask you, Tamra. I talked to Gina about that text that I found from 2018 where Alexis said, we are suing you and Tamra. You will hear from our attorney. And Tamra goes, oh, the one you sent to me last week. Oh, yeah, the one you sent to me last week. And Shane goes, I was surprised that when I sent you that you didn't tell anybody in the group, like, wow, Alexis did actually start the suit. I mean, think about it. These busybodies will call each other when they see an expensive dress that somebody else owns that they can't afford. But Tamra doesn't go and tell everybody that this text was found. I mean, come on. Even Tamra has to admit, yeah, that does look completely weird. I completely understand where this is coming from. And Tamra's like, well, that's between you and her. And Emily's like, yeah, but if you apply the scrutiny to her and everything she does, she goes on Jeff Lewis, we analyze everything she says, then I think the same should be applied to Alexis because she's not perfect either. Emily Simpson, I got a law degree and I'm using it in merry old England. Emily in a talking head goes, honestly, I'm very confused why Tamra and Heather are consistently team Alexis. Because they're paid by the big Johnny J. It's like big pharma. Big Johnny J has control of Heather and Tamra. I'm joking. But Emily goes, they give her a free pass on everything while they hold Shannon to the fire on everything. And by the way, the camera angles on this, it's a tight space, but it's great because there's a one shot where they just have Tamra and Heather, and the one shot, because it's such dim lighting, that it makes them look like evil stepsisters. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about? The one shot just with them in it, like where they look like they're, apart from the rest. Shannon in the scene goes, you seem to just want to point out that I lie or want to point out that I do this. Please stop talking about me. Tamra goes, okay, and you stop talking about me. And then we flash back to earlier in the season when Shannon first talked to Tamra, that first episode, Shannon going, when did I talk behind your back? And Tamra goes, that I'm a horrible friend, that I have a giant ego, that my ego needs to be shot down, that I think that I'm better than everybody. Now, in this scene, Shannon goes, did I say you have a huge ego? You do. I love Shannon. Shannon goes, did I say you have a huge ego? You do. You do. Tamra goes, I'm not the one that has such a big ego that I wouldn't pay $75,000 because I don't want to look bad. And that's Shannon's trigger, that $75,000. That's when Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk. She's like, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And Shannon goes, you know what, Tamra, you're just cruel. You're very cruel. And then Tamra goes, oh, shut up. And like gives her the hand. Oh, shut up. And Shannon goes, you know what, Tamra, there's no need. And Tamra gives her the hand again. And Shannon's like, I can't believe this. You know what? Don't you dare ever raise your hand at me again. Don't you dare. And Tamra just keeps throwing the hand. And Tamra goes, I'm done with you. I'm done with you. That's what I'm saying. I'm done. Bye. And then she goes, maybe you buy. Maybe you buy. I'm done with you. Bye. Maybe you buy. Exactly. Maybe you buy. I don't even think that's an actual sentence, but maybe you buy. We know what she meant. You buy. Maybe you buy. This is my trip. And Shannon gets up and Emily goes, wait, is she buying? Is she buying? And Tamara's kind of like, just like, oh. And everybody's like, Shannon, don't leave. Shannon, don't leave. She's like, I'm just going to the restroom. And, talking to Shannon goes, I don't know what Tamara's motivations are, but I know for certain one of her plans is to ruin this trip. And so far, you are batting 100. Is that what they call it? No, so far you can check out that box. She tried to go for the sports reference. I would do the same thing. I think batting 1,000. And then you hear her go, she can go the fuck home. I'm setting boundaries for myself. And then we see her in the bathroom, I think with Gina and Heather, and all of a sudden Shannon's talking to them going, I don't need to sit there and get verbally abused. Tamra's main goal, it's obvious, is to hurt me. It truly is. That's another interesting thing. And I would be curious in Tamra's therapy if it does come up. I'm not making a joke at all. Is it, there does seem to be a thing when Tamra feels wronged by somebody else. It's not just ignoring it. She does truly seem like she wants to hurt them. And I wonder where that comes from. If that's from being on your own, trying to scrap and fight and make sure you're taken care of. Like, I'm being serious. Like, I wonder where that comes from. Anyways, Tamra and a talking head goes, I'm over this victim act. And then we see a split screen with Tamra and Shannon talking head. And they both say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm done. They both say. And Gina goes, let's take space. I think this needs space, a little space. And Heather goes, this might be an inappropriate time, but it's the best onion ring I've ever had. And Shannon just clocks this like, how dare you talk about onion rings at a time like this? We cut to commercial. We come back. What is going to happen in jolly old England now? They go back to the hotel. And they're like, should we go back to the little bar at the hotel? It's our last night there. They get some margaritas, a Cosmo, some martinis. They're having some drinks. And then Emily's like, do you have your phone? Yeah, you text Eddie. I'll text Shane. You text Ryan. You text Matt. Let's all say the same thing and see what their response is. And they're like, let's all say like, I'm naked or something. And how quickly can you get here? And Shannon clocks this of like, I don't have a man, And Emily's like, okay, everybody has to send the same text. And then you have to read the response that they send back. And then Jenn goes, I'm going to get a dick pic in 2 seconds. And Tamra goes, I got a response. And Eddie's response was, I'm in our sex chair right now. No, his response is, in a flash, if you want to use your imagination. So the text was, how fast can you get here? And Eddie's like, in a flash, if you use your imagination, I'll always be there for your privates. And they all like, woo. And then Jenn goes, Ryan says, is this for me or did you meet someone at the bar? And then Gina goes, wait, I'm going to read Travis's. But then first we cut to Jenn and a talking head goes, Ryan would never leave me unread on a naughty text. That man is Johnny on the spot. He gets a naughty text and he's like, bing, he's on it, which is cute, but also scary potentially, if he's doing that with everybody. And then Katie says, my husband has said nothing. He's like I'm on the golf course. He's literally on the golf course. Katie says, what's so messed up? I see his location. He's like on the 9th hole. His mistress is the golf course. And then Gina goes, Travis just responded. He says, I can be there in 15 seconds and then I'll finish just as quickly as well. I want to set expectations. This Travis does seem like a funny guy. And it seems like Gina and Travis, even though they moved out, it seems like they genuinely make each other laugh, which is what you hope for in a relationship. Right. And then Shannon's like, I'm going to leave. My kids are coming tomorrow and I'm super tired. I want to beat it. I'm just tired. Emily in a talking head goes, okay, the game, it was not meant to make Shannon feel badly at all. And then Shannon goes, okay, you guys have fun. I'll see you tomorrow night. She says that quiet, night. And then Emily in a talking head goes, I'm sorry, you can text Archie. I bet Archie does have a cell phone. Archie does know how to search his phone for texts even. And Tamra goes, well, that was fun. And then we go up to one of their rooms and they do one of those housewives going crazy, getting their comfy clothes on and dancing around in their lingeries, their lingeries. We see Shannon very demurely getting ready for bed, kind of a little sad and melancholy. But on the other one, like Gina's like flashing the window. Tamra is like down in her Spanx. And then Emily's like her the snap on her little undies. I don't know. And Tamra's like, are you peeing? And I was like, I need someone to help me snap it. And then they go out in the balcony and they're like, hello, London. Woo! Then it's the end of the night. Katie's like, Matt, her husband, calls like, hey, baby. Oh, you're on the golf course. And their son is with him. We see Jenn Pedranti FaceTime Ryan. And she's like, I miss that face. And he's like, I miss that face. I miss that face. Let me see you nude. Okay, so that is the night. We go on to a new, very foggy and gloomy day in good old London. we're at the Mayfair Hotel, and we hear Tamra. All this breakfast is spread out for her and Heather, and Tamra's like, "I'm tired still," and Heather's like, "Is your head still swirling about everything that fucking happened last night?" I mean, I will say, once Heather Dubrow has gotten to England, she's cursing a lot. And then Tamara's like, "Oh, Shannon just playing the victim and all that." And then we have a split screen where we see Shannon drinking coffee and eating breakfast by herself. And we see Katie say that Emily's gone from their hotel room. And Jen's like, "She snuck out in the night. She is gone. So Emily is actually in the bedroom with Gina. And Emily goes, "Today we cannot go to bed at 4 a.m. Okay. And Gina's like, "We're just too old for this." I feel that, Gina, man. Anyways, Emily gets up from doing her hair. It's like, "My back, everything hurts, my hips, my back, my beep, and my crack." Okay, get ready, folks. We are about to get into the meat of this episode. So Gina and Shannon knock on Jenn Pedranti's door. They're all done up, like, "You look amazing, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you look so cute, blah, 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 blah." Right? And Jen's all bubbly. She's got like this belly shirt on. And they sit down, and Jenn asks Shannon, "How are you?" And Shannon's like, "I'm okay. I'm okay." And Gina's like, "It was a rough night." And Jenn goes, "I feel like we keep repeating that with you." Shannon goes, "It's the pattern that I've had for 10 years with Tamra. We argue, and then she says, 'I love you. I miss you. I care about you so much.' She doesn't." And Jenn goes, "Clearly." Shannon goes, "But she loves to talk about me whenever she can. It's just cruel." And Jenn's like, "It is cruel. It is." Okay, so that's like the prequel right there. And then we see Emily and Tamra going to get like beet juice so they can poop. And Emily's like, "Give me extra cleanse." And Tamra's like a laxative. And Emily's like, "Whatever you got back there that'll get stuff moving." So they get their little laxative drinks. They all say they got to bed at like 4:30. And Tamra goes, "Was Shannon in your room?" And Emily goes, "No, Shannon has a room at the end." And Tamra goes, "She's an exhausting friend." And Emily goes, "Where do we go from here, though? How can we just get it where it's just not animosity and you guys are screaming at each other?" And Tamra goes, "Here's my question. Why am I always bowing down to this woman?" And Emily's like, "You're not bowing down. You're being a bigger person." "I've been a bigger person for 10 years, Emily." And Emily goes, "Keep being the bigger person then." In a talking head, Emily goes, "I don't understand Tamra's level of anger with Shannon. She consistently berates her. Like there's just no compassion there." Tamra talks to a pigeon and goes, "Should I be the bigger person?" And Emily goes, "Yes, you should, Tamra. Be the bigger person. Do it. Do it." And Tamra just keeps going, "Should I be the bigger person?" And the pigeon's nodding yes. Okay, so there it is. Emily goes, "You can be disappointed in her because of the DUI. You can have the opinion that she shouldn't drink, that she should be sober, all valid. But why not try to help her be a better person?" This has been my argument all season. And Emily continues, "Not continuously berate her and humiliate her." And then Tamra goes, "Wait, I think I have to poop. It could be an emergency." By the way, Tamra pissed on fun. What house were we? We at Alexis's house that time. It pissed on the cement. No, that was at Jenn Pedranti's place. Pissed on the cement at Jenn Pedranti's place. What if Tamra shits on a cement street in England? So Tamra starts running because she has to poop, and she's like, "I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it." Anyways, back to Shannon in that room. Shannon goes, "It really bothers me that Tamra will have conversations behind your back and bring up topics that could really damage you or your boyfriend." So here is Shannon playing the Tamra game. Like, let's put some seeds out. Like, because Shannon knows what she's about to do. And Shannon's like, "And I know she texted me stuff. So I looked back in my phone last night because I recently learned how to use it, and I have it." So, whoa, gloves are off. And Jen's like, "From Tamra?" Shan's like, "Uh-huh, September of 2022. In a talking head, Shannon goes, "I am so tired of Tamra saying that I do certain things when she does them. I think it's important that Jenn understand how Tamra works behind everybody's back. This is what she does." So back in the scene, Shannon goes, "Someone sent her some stuff about Ryan. And then she said, 'I'm asking my friend's husband if he can do a background check.' And then she texts me evidence of the background check. And she shows the phone to Jenn Pedranti. And we see Ryan Boyajian's contact information. And Jen's like scrolling in. And Jenn goes, "What the fuck is wrong with her?" And Jen goes, we don't stoop to this level because, like, that's not who we are. I mean, it's like who everybody is on these shows, but I get what Shannon's saying. And Gina goes, this is who we are. This is who we are. Good on you, Gina. And Jen goes, putting this shit out there, it's almost like fucking weird and obsessive. And Gina goes, it's not almost, like, it is weird. And Jen goes, it's like boil a fucking rabbit in a pot or something. Fatal Attraction. And Gina's like, yeah, it's fucking bizarre. It's fucking creepy. In a talking head, this is where Jenn starts the unleashing. She goes, Tamra doesn't have a soul. It's fucking scary. And Gina goes, yeah, it's fucking scary. It's like going to dinner with a bomb, just waiting for it to fucking explode. In the talking head, Jenn goes, she has to use all of our lives to make hers relevant. Because when you look at her life, it's just boring. And Jenn Pedranti in this talking head is just shooting her eyes down the barrel of that camera lens. Not even like, because Shannon gets nervous in her talking heads. Jenn is stoic and still. And I was always told in acting class, and I could never do this, but it's like stillness is power. When somebody is like hitting, you listen to their words when they're still. And Jenn is just nailing Tamra. Jenn in the scene goes, it's not right. And I don't know why I even go give her an ounce of my time because I'm such a better person than her. I would rather have my little fucking bank account and my happy kids who love me and a man who supports me than being low-level fucking bullshit like her. I imagine the producers are calling each other going, oh my God, she finally did it. Jenn fucking found her voice. You guys get Alex Baskin on the phone right now. It's happening. Like Jenn, her voice octave is raised, like the power of her voice. She's using her hands and sweeping gestures. It's truly fantastic. And that was like a low blow there of I have kids who love me, low. Jenn goes, and she thinks she's going to come in and ruin our fucking family? She is trash. And Gina and Shannon are just like still just watching her. And Jenn goes, literal fucking trash. And Shannon stares at Gina, and Gina's like, I feel sick for you. And Shannon's like, I'm sick to my stomach as well. I'm sick to my. And Shannon's like, will you call me or text me? I'm going to go with the kids for a little while. And Shannon's like, I just dropped a bomb. I'm going to toodaloo. Anyways, call me, KIT. Jen's like, enjoy, girls. You and I will talk later. Like, it's like a lady going off to war. Like, finally, I just got my, like, ladies, enjoy your day. I'm going to go take care of this. And Shannon goes, bye, babe. Bye, babe. And Jenn leaves, and the camera people are like following her. And like, like Jen's going to go take care of this shit now. And you can tell the camera people weren't necessarily prepared. And all of a sudden, we're like going down a hallway. We're going upstairs. We're going too many places. Like, we're down in another hallway, another stair. I was like, is this like a fucking, what it's a maze all of a sudden? And Jen's like, I mean, honest to God, I don't even know what to fucking walk in and even start with her. And she knocks on the door. Tap, 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 tap. And the door opens. Heather opens the door. And we cut the commercial. No! And all of a sudden, we come back from commercial. Jenn Pedranti walks in, and Tamra is getting glam. You hear the blow dryer, and you hear Tamra talking shit about somebody. Tamra's like, you can have two people that don't get. And Tamra's like, oh, hey, Jenn. Hey, Jenn. And Heather's like just staring at Jenn, like knowing that something is off. Like Heather looks scared. And Jenna goes, you did a fucking background check on Ryan? And Tamra immediately goes, no, what are you talking about? And Jenn goes, you did. And then Tamra goes, swear to God on my kid's life, I did not. And that's like, isn't that what Tamra was saying about Shannon? Of like, you always got to be careful of people that are like, honestly, when they start off that, they're not being honest. You also, I would like pose the question of, you also got to be aware of people that immediately swear on their kids. Because Tamra immediately, without even like, just goes, swear to God on my kid's life, I did not. And Jenn goes, I just saw it with my own eyes. And Tamra goes, a background check? And Jenn goes, I don't understand with you. You want to go and you want to talk about my fake shit? You want to talk about? And Tamra immediately, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And Jenn goes, you did a fucking background check on Ryan. And Tamra's like, show it to me. And she goes, I already saw it. You don't get to do this shit anymore. And Tamra's out smiling and going, And Jen's like, you're throwing around all this shit, Tamra. And Heather's just sitting there with her hand on her chin. You're throwing around all this shit, Tamra. And then all of a sudden, Tamra starts clapping. And Jenn goes, fuck you. And Heather goes, wait. And Tamra's clapping and going, that's not what happened. And Heather goes, Jenn. And she goes, what? Jenn goes, I don't need to let her talk, Heather. She fucking knows. And Tamra goes, oh my God, that was 2 years ago. Okay, so now she admits, oh, that was 2 years ago. And it wasn't a background check. I've never paid for a background check in my life. Just because you're cheap doesn't mean it wasn't a background check. You might get free background checks. Also, it might not have been a background check, but in the text you sent to Shannon, you literally said the words background check. So I don't know if you were showing off for Shannon, blah, 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 but you said the words background check. You wrote it. Jenn in the talking head goes, Tamra constantly says people should take accountability. You know what, Tamra? You take accountability for the damage that you caused. You take accountability for the people you hurt. You take accountability for your actions. In the scene, Jenn goes, I'm having my friend do a background check on Ryan. And Tamra goes, no. She starts just doing her default yelling, no. And Tamra goes, okay, it's not a private slow down. It's not a private investigator. No, he was a real estate guy. And Jenn goes, why do you care? What does Eddie do? And Tamra goes, he owns a multi-million-dollar business. And Jenn goes, do I give a shit what Eddie does? Is Eddie happy? Do I need to go dig around? And then Tamra just starts clapping again. And she's like, why are you clapping? Because you're using your voice. I'm so happy for you. You won't listen. You just want to yell. You won't listen. You just want to yell. Where have we possibly seen that from another housewife on Orange County? But I love it. Like, this is like Tyson. Like, Tamra's in a corner, man, and she's having to divert. She's having to pivot. She's doing all of these things, and then she claps, which is so demeaning. But it's like, haha, I was testing you and it worked. You finally found your voice. And Heather is just watching all of this intensely. And Jenn goes, fuck you, Tamra. Heather in a talking head, all snooty, goes, I didn't even know Jenn could speak that loudly. It was sort of impressive. In this scene, Jenn goes, your words. I have my friend's husband doing a background check on Ryan. Then you send fucking articles. And Tamra goes, no. Fuck. Oh, God. Can I please talk to one of the glam squad in this scene? Like, did they go hide in the bathroom? Where's the glam squad? And Tamra's like, no, wait. And Jenn's like, no, you fucking wait. And Tamra sits down. She's on the rope. She's like all fidgeting with her face. And Jenn in a talking head goes, when you back Tamra in a corner, she doesn't know what to do. She's like a feral cat. Why don't you own up for the bullshit that you cause in people's lives? Why don't you ever say, I'm sorry and I mean it? Why don't you just learn how to be a fucking friend? Tamra in the scene goes, why don't you just ask me calmly instead of freaking out? I've never paid for a background check. Just because you haven't paid for it doesn't mean you didn't have one done. Like, people do favors for these people all the times. Tamra goes, you said that he was a mortgage broker. So I asked my friend and goes, is he licensed in mortgage? And he said, no, that's it. It's kind of like how Katie knew the president of the paparazzi and asked about Heather and Terry's picture. Did you? And he just said, yes. So it's very similar. And Jenn's like, that's bullshit. And Tamra goes, that is not a background check. In a talking head, Tamra goes, don't try to make me out like I'm hiring private investigators when that's not what I did. Shannon is the one trying to rile her up. But if she's going to be sick Jenn on me, you might want to send somebody with half a brain. Tamra trying to get in this cutting remark about Jenn when, I'm sorry, the scene we just saw says that Jenn has more than half a brain. She's got a full brain. She might even be like a brain and a tenth of a brain. Like, there's a brain in there. So this is somebody on the ropes trying to throw out that one last hit that just doesn't land at all. So back in the scene, Jenn goes, your obsession, Tamra, is actually weird. It's fucking weird. Which, by the way, these obsessions, though, are what makes Housewives, right? The Brooks cancer scam, all of these things. It's built on these obsessive little moments. And Tamra goes, okay. And Jenn goes, okay. And Tamra goes, okay, my obsession is weird. It is, Jenn says, because I asked if he was licensed in real estate. I mean, mortgage. And Jenn goes, oh, it's that simple. It's that simple. And Tamra goes, it is that simple. Jenn goes, I'm having my friend's husband do a background check. Ryan's investigated by the FBI. It's weird. And Tamra goes, it's all over the internet. And Jen goes, I'm so fucking, and she's like really in command. She goes, I'm so fucking done with your low-level bullshit. And then Tamra goes, bye, bye. And then they keep going, bye, bye, bye. Back to, like just like a tennis match of buys. Bye, 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 bye. And Heather goes, oh, come on, Jen, don't walk out. And Tamra looks at Heather, go, oh, how stupid. And Jen comes back in. No, you need to fucking grow up and leave my fucking family alone, Tamra. Tamra goes, okay. And Jen goes, I just moved into that man's house. My kids are good. My fucking kids are with me and good and happy. So I don't know if that was a slam at my kids are with me. Leave me the fuck alone. I want no part of your fucking bullshit. You attack everyone. The only reason she's your fucking friend, Heather, is because she's in front of you right now. And Tamara's like, no, we've been friends for years. And Jen's like, that's it. You talk behind their back. And Tamara goes, so do you. And Jen goes, yeah, actually, I don't. I'm the better fucking person than you will ever be, Tamra, ever. Heather, by the way, when she said like that friendship, Heather goes, don't talk about my friendship. Anyways, Tamara goes, Jen goes, bye. And Tamara's like, bye. And we hear Jen go, fucking bitch. And then Jen walks down the hallway, puts her like kind of rubbing her temples, and Heather goes, that was a lot. Very snooty. But come on, Heather. She rope-a-doped old Tamra there. We have not seen Tamra on the ropes like that in a very, very long time. Okay, that's the end of our episode. Next time on The Real Housewives of Orange County, we are still in England. They're at Windsor Castle. And we see Shannon's daughter surprise her in a park. And then we see Shannon, I think, throwing up, I think Shannon's throwing up in a bathroom. And then Heather says, Katie said things about me to her daughter, who then said things about me. And then a scene where Tamra is talking to Heather saying, Shannon said, we need to find out if Gina pushed Travis down the stairs. And Heather's like, what? Which, they already talked about this. So this is what happens when you poke the bear being Tamra, because Tamra's going to come back twice as hard. So Shannon, you shared those text messages. Tamra's going to ruin your life. Tamra's going to literally say everything that you said about everybody in this cast. And it looks like it starts with Gina if I was a betting man. And then we see Gina in a scene going, I don't deserve this. Jenn doesn't deserve this. And she's yelling at Shannon. And Shannon's like, I get it. And Gina's like, Travis doesn't deserve it. Ryan doesn't deserve it. It has to stop here. It stops here and now. I'm Gina. What a finale, you guys. Oh, my nipples are hard. Goose pimples everywhere. How exciting was that final scene? I mean, you almost feel bad for Tamra. I mean, like I've not seen Tamra in a position like that in a while, because Jenn so effectively communicated what she wanted to say. I mean, and on the spot, she did it. I mean, there's more going on to Jenn that we have given her credit for. So that was excellent. Excellent work, you ladies. What a great episode, you guys. Okay, I wanted to read one last thing that was sent to me while I was recording this. I read it on a break. This is a Daily Mail headline. Real Housewives of Orange County, Alexis Bellino, quote, at risk of being fired amid ongoing feud with Shannon Beador. And this is written by our friend Jacques Peterson. He was just on the podcast a couple weeks ago. He also is a Daily Mail writer, producer, a bunch of things. I like him a lot, even though we have very differing opinions. But he wrote this article, and he said, the article reads, Bravo bosses are scrambling to figure out a way to keep both Alexis Bellino and Shannon Beador on the Real Housewives of Orange County next season amid their ongoing feud. Shannon, 60, and Alexis, 47, have been at odds all season after Alexis started dating Shannon's ex-boyfriend, John Janssen, 62, who is now her fiance. Making things more complicated between the pair is the fact that John is suing Shannon for an unpaid loan of $75,000, and that Shannon has accused Alexis of having a hand in the lawsuit. The drama has brought in big ratings for the series, but viewer backlash towards Alexis has been so extreme that producers are now unsure how to move forward with the current cast. Quote, Bravo is so happy with how this season turned out, and they know that adding Alexis is a big part of what made it such a success, one insider told dailymail.com. The article continues, everybody brought their A game this year, but it's really the drama between Shannon and Alexis that's made this season a blockbuster hit. You know what? Yeah, but also there's a lot of other great stuff in this, but I know what it means. Quote, producers don't want to change a thing, but they're not sure how they can bring both Shannon and Alexis back given the current state of their relationship. Quote, they don't want to film with each other, and the audience hates Alexis so much that Bravo may have no choice but to let her go unless something changes. Another insider said that Alexis did everything she shouldn't have done at the reunion, which only made things worse between herself and Shannon, which is what I told you guys earlier, that I had heard that there is literally no movement between Shannon and Alexis after the reunion. Nothing got solved. While things may look bleak, another production insider said that an Alexis return is still very much on the table. Quote, nothing has been decided yet, and casting won't officially begin until the season has finished airing, so nobody has been fired or rehired. With that said, there's a lot of people who do want Alexis back next year. She's easy to work with compared to some of the other women, and she's authentically friends with the cast, which is hard to find. Well, she's authentically friends with some of the cast because she used to be on the cast, but the cast that she's authentically friends with now used to make fun of her back then. Anyways, it says Tamra Judge, Heather Dubrow, Jennifer Pedranti, Katie Janela all want her back. Shannon and Emily Simpson would be happy to see her go. And Gina Kirschenheiter doesn't care either way. I don't care either way. One source also said that the viewer backlash against Alexis won't be the deciding factor in her future on the show. I agree with that. They don't ever care. Truly, like what we complain about and say doesn't factor in. Quote, Bravo has fired plenty of great people due to the audience backlash before, and it usually just makes the show boring and leads to even more complaints from fans. Alexis could easily come back, but she and Shannon are going to have to find a way to coexist for that to happen. They can't just rehash the same fight forever and refuse to film together. Nobody wants to see that. Because that's the problem I keep telling you, is that if Alexis comes back, they're going to want to have Alexis, or Alexis will want to come back full time as a full-on housewife. And how's that going to work? You know? Several insiders also confirmed that Shannon was originally on the chopping block until the most recent season, which many fans say is her best season yet. Quote, everybody thought Shannon would be phased out after her DUI and Alexis would replace her, but things played out in such an unexpected way that now Shannon is arguably the most popular person on the show. And everybody hates Alexis and Tamra, but it's not always a bad thing to be hated as a housewife. It's better than being forgettable. I tell you guys that every week. DailyMail.com understands that Alexis herself is keen to come back and redeem herself and is deeply frustrated by how the current season has played out. Quote, she's been really upset with how she comes across and even considered quitting at one point, but she eventually decided that it would be better for her to return and show the viewers more of her real life. Alexis also believes that Shannon's true colors will eventually come out and that she'll be vindicated, so she wants to be part of the show when that happens so everyone can see that she's not the bad guy in this. How about maybe we get to a point where there's not a bad guy. Maybe we get to a point where we coexist where nobody has to be the bad guy. In addition to Alexis, newbie Katie Janela's future on the series may also be up in the air. Producers are happy with Katie's performance on the show, and she's been well received by fans, but some of the other women really have it out for her. Heather, quote, Heather never got over Katie accusing her of her staging paparazzi photos and was furious about it all season, and Gina says she now regrets bringing Katie into the group. They added, some of the women think Katie moved to Orange County just to get cast on the show, and they don't trust her, but Katie feels like she's being hazed and iced out as the new girl and just wants to move past all this petty drama. Yeah, if these, once the ladies can get past that first season, then it becomes a lot easier. But until then, it's a rough road, especially when it comes back to re-upping for the second season. But that article, a lot of that rings true with everything that I had previously heard. Now, Jacques, I didn't get to say hi to him, but he was at that Us Weekly party I was at. And I think he was hanging out with like Heather and Stu, Heather McDonald and Stu. And I think Heather and Stu, they were hanging out or were talking with Johnny J and Alexis. So I wonder if some of those quotes are directly from Alexis that night. That's just completely made up in my head. I do not have confirmation from Jacques about that. That's just me putting two and two together. But yeah, that's where it's at. I mean, listen, I think Alexis has earned her spot back just on the pure hatred she's inspired. And I know that's a wild thing to say, but if you go by the thesis that I go by on these shows, being hated is what makes these shows kind of go around. But I also agree that we can only do the Shannon and Alexis fight for only so much longer. You can have moments of being upset, especially if it were to be a wedding season. But man, this is what is so exciting to me, because I really, truly, I would love to sit in on a producer's meeting. Like I would sign all the NDAs in the world. But I would really love to know the conversations, how this all really does get decided. Like where the producers get involved, where the network gets involved, because everybody has this say, and I want to know whose say means more. And, who is difficult to work with, who isn't. But I think they didn't plan on Shannon being as popular as she is this season. So if that is to be believed, phasing Shannon out with Alexis has not seemed to have worked. And I think we all want redemption seasons for a lot of people on Bravo. I think there's a lot of room for that. And I want to see Shannon truly get past all of this and back on her feet and then kind of see where this show goes. But yeah, I wanted to read you guys that article. I think it's a perfect way to end this show. You guys, we did it. Have a great weekend. Come back on Monday for an all-new pop culture roundup. I'll probably throw something on Patreon over the weekend. Remember to rate the podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I'm going to go. It's 4:45. It's only took me 3+ hours. I'm going to go relax tonight and watch my favorite reality show, Love After Lockup. I love trash TV. And I love you guys. Have a great weekend.